Hey, this is Zepp, and on behalf of the guys, Stru, Boomer, and Lukey, we want to thank you for downloading and listening to our podcast of The Ticket Outdoors, brought to you by Mills Fleet Farm. And remember, when nothing's going right, just go fishing.
For Father's Day, get Dad gifts from his favorite store, Fleet Farm. Dad will feel like a king on the Cloud 9 hanging lounge chair, $158.88. The Berkeley Deluxe Electric Filet Knife Kit is $39.99. A DeWalt 20-volt drill driver kit is $99. Dad can do some serious cooking on a Traeger Little Tex Elite Grill, $599.99. And can't decide? Fleet Farm gift cards make great gifts.
Ticket Outdoors on Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
Psych, we made it. Cool. I didn't know. My key didn't work. I didn't know what was going on.
Baloney, you pee more than anybody I've ever met in my life.
What are you talking about? Boomer's the one with the bunny bladder. It just takes me forever when I do go.
That's the size, my friend. It's the anatomy. How you doing, Zepp?
I'm doing good, man.
Welcome back to the Ticket Outdoors. I know you took a vacation last week. Let's talk about last week. That Brian Zepp, Ticket Outdoors. I'm Steve Strusinski. Boomer, my buddies over here. Mark Lukey, the producer, is back there with his feet up on the desk like always.
He's already asleep.
Well, let's tell us about the Stones, pal. You took the week off last week.
The Stones always deliver. I mean, although you always wonder. I remember I saw them, and it didn't rain. We had the showers before that.
Yep.
And just sort of, washed out the grime and the sweat, and we were all ready to go. The guys even parted and cleared a little bit right before the Stone show. So the weather was good, and it was nice and cool, but they deliver. I mean, it's here I am at 49, and I don't think I've got half the moves that Mick Jagger still has.
And you've seen them, 5-6 times by now?
4 times. Okay. And I saw them in 2005. I thought, well, they're not going to tour again, for crying out loud. They'll be in their 70s, but here they go again, and the guys did a pretty good job. They come out, they've got, they can play for 5 hours and every song.
Now, my buddy Dan Boris, who I just talked to, as well, I said, Danny's a good friend of mine, listens to the show quite a bit. Thank you very much, Dan Boris. And he said, what are you guys talking about tonight? And I gave him some insights as to what's happening here with Lakes Trading Company and all that kind of good stuff. But he went to the Stones concert as well, and he said he got there early, and he's only like 25 or 30 feet away from the stage, whatever. And Zepp.
Yeah, Mark, can you grab my paperwork? No, it's out on the main table. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so he told me that the young lady who sang before the Stones was hot.
Grace Potter is smoking hot. I was at
Grace Potter.
I don't know who she is, but she was hot.
A couple of years ago, I was at an outdoor festival, and I wasn't there to see Grace Potter. Thanks, man. I was just sort of hanging. Look, our producer did something tonight.
He got a haircut, too.
Yeah, he might get himself a beer if he keeps working like that. And I was, a couple of years ago at an outdoor festival, and wasn't really paying attention to who was on stage, but I heard this gal singing and realized everyone was looking at the stage. I turn around, and she's going like Janis Joplin nuts up there in a sundress and bare feet and looking, she's all legs.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
So here's what I want to know.
And she can sing. She's very talented.
She can sing. She's super talented. A lot of
Welcome
energy.
to the Ticket Outdoors, the hunting and fishing radio show. Hey, but before we get to that.
I was talking about a trophy.
Yeah. What was it like doing a pre-broadcast? Were you at a frat house or a sorority?
Are we still doing are we doing the hunting to this guy?
Yeah. I just had to know real quick, and then we'll get to
You know what? It's out of frat season. I guess they kicked all the partiers out of there, so the place was sort of empty, and they wouldn't let anybody come in out of the rain in the frat house. They're a little uptight, those frat boys. Well, tell some stories about your old frat days. I said I was in the Army. I wasn't in the freaking frat.
That was a boner killer for him.
But you know what? The guys that were there turned out to be really cool. The place is pretty awesome. I've never been in one of those frat houses. Alpha Delta Phi down there in the end, 18th and University. So it was pretty cool. It was just a fun time all the way around, and the Zepp girls joined me, so they got to cross the Rolling Stones off their bucket list, I guess.
Hey, by the way, this is the Ticket Outdoors. This is a hunting and fishing radio show. It's outdoors, all kinds of things, right? I was listening to flipping channels on the way here, and I was listening to a so-called outdoor show just in passing on the radio, and the host was asking the guest about the population of the pileated woodpeckers. That's my kind of outdoor radio show. It's talking about the pileated woodpeckers. Even I know they're pileated. I think, aren't they? Aren't they pileated?
Pileated woodpeckers, yeah. Hey, the Strewman's got one up. All right, Ben is back from Lakes Trading Company on the show tonight. Sean Dunaway. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the suppressors that Governor Dayton signed into law.
And that drives me crazy. Who gives a rat's ass if a doctor uses a popsicle stick on a kid's tongue? I mean, I just made that up. Come on, but I'm bumped.
Sound effects when we need them.
They got taken away.
Drew, what'd you do this weekend?
I had a big week. I golfed a lot. I tell you what, I played in a softball tournament. I'll be 64 years old here in a couple of months. In September, I'll be 64 years old. And I'm still playing senior softball, and I'm loving it. I'm fairly competitive. But even though I'm small and pretty good shape, you play 6 games in 2 days, your body hurts.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of fun. We got our butts kicked, but we won, I think, only one game. But it wasn't because of me, because I was a superstar.
Yeah.
But I did that, worked a lot, listed a couple of houses this weekend, and did grandkid things, and went to softball. And my gorgeous wife is already in Chautauqua, Wisconsin, listening to the show right now. And tomorrow, Big Mark and I'm going up by myself until Friday, but tomorrow I'm picking up our brand new boat. Mark, brand new boat.
That's right, the Sea Sprite.
The Sea Sprite, the
Sounds
USS.
like a stripper's name is what it really does.
The USS Ticket Outdoors. And we paid $2,000 for it, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Sunshine.
I'm kind of hoping it sinks because it'd be worth a $2,000 story if it sinks.
You guys going to bust a bottle of Grain Belt over the bow or something like that?
I've got some buckhorn from a couple of years back.
There you go. Waste that.
Boone's
Don't waste
wine,
the Grain
right?
Belt on it. Yeah. So, and I got out and finally got some of those black crappies and sunnies out of Spring Lake. Got some feeder. The girls and I had fresh fish for the night. That was about a week ago. I haven't gone out for the big trophies like you know who over here.
Without us.
Boomer, what did you do?
You know what? First, before we get to the weekend, I had a fabulous end of last week. So I took Sophia and some of her Girl Scout friends out, and we went down to Waconia chasing some of those black beauty crappies. Yeah. And they were we'll talk about it on the Lake Report on some tips for our listeners. But I tell you what, I would rather just see, now that I got that big wall. But, you know, the smiles on those girls' faces was amazing. But I just spent the last 3 or 4 days with the rest of the Alumacraft A team, the fishing team, and we were up doing the catalog shoot for next year. And we were up in northern Minnesota, and I want to thank our friends.
I didn't know you had a good side.
You know, they've got really good graphic imaging folks that can kind of cover up, put teeth in for me and all that kind of stuff. And we said hello to the Geiger's Trails End Resort folks. We stayed at Bill's and Aaron's place, and we fished a couple different places. We were up on Leech Lake, and then we were on Deer Lake, and then we did a little bit on Bowstring. And you want to talk about a production, guys. I'll get onto it at the Lake Report, but we had a double-decker pontoon. We had cameras on the drones, and it was just absolutely amazing. Some of the best anglers, some of the best people. I was hanging out with a guy named Gene Jensen, my new buddy from Georgia. We're going to have him on the show.
Great.
He has the #1 freshwater fishing show on YouTube.
Oh.
No crap. He has over 10 million views and 80,000 subscribers. And we did a lot of fishing together, and it was just a blast. You got to meet a lot of the folks that are part of the Alumacraft fishing team that you normally don't get to, right? You interact through phone, text, social media, and what a blast. And guess what I caught yesterday?
How big was it, 28?
You know, it was not that big. It was about 25 inches.
Still a nice fish.
But it was a nice fish. It had some girth. We'll talk on the Lake Report on how we got it. We got to run around in all the new 2016 models of Alumacraft, which, as you guys know, I get a little bit excited. I get a little bit energetic, and I like to take pictures, so I was pretty pumped up. I was out there on the new boat.
You like to take all those pictures. Put a C in that word, will you? You drive me crazy. Say pictures. Try it. Say pics. There you go.
I'll just say pics.
There you go.
All right, for the crowd that's under 50 years old here, Drew.
Yeah.
And but I can't publish any of those yet. But it was just quite a blast. The weather was absolutely wonderful, and I had a cute chick in my boat too. That always helps, you know.
Since you're talking about Geiger's Trails End, some of the folks who are listening right now or maybe in studio haven't heard, Bill and Aaron are friends of ours. They've invited us up to Geiger's Trails End a couple of times, done some wonderful fishing up there, both crappies and walleyes. They're the nicest people in the world, and I want to support them. But about 4 or 5 months ago, Bill had was doing some work under his truck or his vehicle, and it dropped on him. How's he doing? I know he's back. He's doing fine.
Oh, Bill is full of piss and vinegar again. You know, we went rolling in there after the photo shoot. I mean, we would start at 4 in the morning and get done with 11 o'clock at night, and we'd come back rolling into Geiger's with about 15 trucks and 15 different Alumacraft boats, you know, a production boat that had 200-300 horse Suzukis on it, a big pontoon, big trucks, and they would greet us every time with a smile at about midnight, helping us park, and Bill is doing great, and they did a wonderful job, and it's nice to see him recovering.
Put your blocks under the truck.
And he did say, I do have a date in September where we're going to do the Here's My Gear Appreciation Weekend, which Ticket Outdoors is a part of. And before I left this morning at my cup of coffee, Bill is a big fan of Zepp. He might even have a little man crush, like the Lukey Mitchell man crush, put your hands in your pants deal. And he did say, tell Zepp he better get his ass up to Geiger's Trails End Resort.
All right, I will, but I'm not going to get under the truck and work with him. We'll do some fishing. I am dying to get up there as well. And, you were talking about Soph getting excited when you were catching those panfish. You know, we had Sid the kid out, and she does not like to fish because she's not patient. She gives us the typical kid, 5 minutes, I'm out of here.
Right.
But boy, when you get on them, I don't care who, you can hate fishing, and you start catching the panties, and everybody gets excited. It's a lot of fun.
I tell you what, I pray to God when you have 2 or 3, 8-year-old girls in the tournament pro, and we were out on Waconia, and again, I don't want to ruin it for the lake report tonight, and the first cast, I'm like, Jesus, God, please get me some fish, because they're already wanting to jump off the boat into the water, right? And the first cast, boy, we were looking for some shallow water. The bobber hit the water, and dang, it just kept on going. And the next thing I know, I got girls screaming, freaking out. We're throwing waxies on little foo-foo jigs, and it was an absolute freaking blast.
We had we were catching them so quick out there that Sid had to actually unhook her own fish.
Oh, no.
She had to touch them, and she didn't care anymore. But now if I could just get her to clean a few. But that good times. All right, looking forward to the lake report coming up a little bit later on. Guys, I just printed this one out. Came hot off the press today. Did you hear about the DNRs? Did you want to jump in with something else, Boom?
No, keep going.
We got a few minutes
to talk
here.
A little deer hunting.
Yeah, I just printed this off today. The DNR just came out with their new population results. The Minnesota DNR announced a plan to increase the deer population across much of the state following their public feedback period. We've talked about that in length on this show. According to their news release, the new deer population goals will affect 40 of the state's 128 permit areas. I looked at the map of the permit areas. They're mostly central. I don't know how the zones break up. I don't know the numbers of each one, but not well to the north, not way to the south, pretty much central Minnesota are the areas that they're going to affect, which surprised me a little bit. But the new goals largely reflect the desires shared by stakeholders who participated in the deer goal setting process.
Boy, that sounds corporate-y.
It really does.
Jesus, get to the
number
point.
of deer harvested in I don't know that there really is one. About 110,000 last year, significantly lower than the 160,000 the year before. The peak harvest in 2003. Want to take a shot at it?
Well, that might have been.
How many was it last year? 105,000?
110.
Hold on, 2003 is true. That's when we would have
2003.
We would have had
230,000.
We would have had managed intensive harvest zones where I hunt in Bacchus. So I'm guessing if it was 130, I gotta say 250 to 300,000.
Yeah, very good. 290,000.
Wow. Jeepers, creepers.
Guess who the one group?
Damn, I'm good, Stu.
Guess who the one group was who opposed the plan of the new DNR's deer population?
PETA.
Yep.
No. Our buddies. Come on, you know who it is. Take a guess. We've had them on the show. It's true.
Oh, I don't know.
They're in Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Yeah, well, you keep talking. I'm having a cocktail. Come on, right. I can't think that quickly.
MDHA is the initials.
Yeah. They did?
Yes, the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association said, no.
They're objecting because the population increase goals are too low.
Well, how does that affect me in Ely, Minnesota this year if I happen to go up there and see one animal?
I don't know, and they really didn't give us any permit numbers, or there's no talk in here about antler restrictions. So who knows? I think they're just going to move the dial a little bit.
You got something to say, Boom?
No, I was just going to say
the same population goals they had last year. I bet.
And I'm not going to get on this tirade again because now I'm getting excited about the wolf hunting thing. But again. If we were at 250 to 300,000 in 2003, I remember those years as a kid because you could shoot 5 deer in our zone,
which was stupid. But keep on going.
Well, no, it's not stupid. If you cleared out the
freezer,
it's you know what? Because if you shoot what you eat, it's not stupid, and I'm a firm believer in that. It's true.
Oh, yeah.
And to now, where we're in zones where you need a lottery,
and you can eat 5 deer.
We had a big family growing up.
Not at one sitting.
Not at one setting, but if you're down to 100,000 and we never shot 5 deer, we shot what we could eat. Let me staple that one. But if you can only harvest 100,000 deer in this state, it's not only for the deer hunters, but deer hunting's a big frickin' deal to our economy. I mean, we take kids out of school, Stu. I mean, look what it does for our jobs. Look what it does for our retail sports. Just like fishing is a $5 billion industry.
I'm on your side, buddy. Don't get pissed at me.
It's frustrating because this can not only damage our economy, but I don't want the bar because after a couple years, it just becomes the norm, right? Well, it's going to be 100,000, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. We have an ecosystem in the state to get back to 250, 300. Okay, I'm done.
All right, now since we're speaking of hunting, go ahead.
There's also a law in the House. The House has, our state House, that is proposed taking the wolves back off the endangered list. So that's not going to get a vote anytime soon.
I know we only have a couple of minutes to go to the next break. Now we're talking this hunting and fishing.
Actually, that clock up there, so you guys know,
is slow.
You're always looking at me like, what the hell is you? It's 7:15 and a half right now.
So I'm done.
Yeah, you're done.
Well, screw you.
You know who's not done? Ben Oliver, owner of Lakes Trading Company, is just getting started.
I had a hell of a hunting.
The DA Show, weeknights until 9 on the Twin Cities Sports Radio, 105 The Ticket.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, only on 105 The Ticket.
Joey Logano just screens out into the lead. McMurray's got to the second. Matt Kenseth and Kevin Harvick side by side for third.
Jimmy Johnson is on a roll and looking to defend the Quicken Loans 400 live from Michigan International Speedway. Tune in NASCAR Sunday morning at 11 o'clock.
That's the battle for the lead in turn 1.
This is Brad Keselowski.
This is Dillon Hart Jr.
This is Jeff Gordon.
This is Jimmy Johnson. This is Kevin Harvick.
Your home for NASCAR in the Twin Cities is Sports Radio 105 The Ticket.
There are reasons they're called the silent sports. No engines, no fumes, no wakes. Just the sound of a paddle blade knifing through the water. And maybe the occasional call of a loon who's willing to share a lake. Glide across your favorite water this summer with a canoe, kayak, or stand-up paddleboard. Mills Fleet Farm has them all. This year, really get on the water with Mills Fleet Farm.
The Ticket Outdoors is proud to be a partner with Lakes Trading Company. Why? Because they kick. That's why. Guns to buy, guns to shoot, guns to rent, and the best prices on ammo around. We love Lakes Trading Company because they eat, sleep, and breathe guns just like us. Looking to get a permit to carry class or renew your old permit? Don't be disappointed by a cut-rate instructor. Lakes Trading Company has top-notch instructors and on-site range and meals provided. Lakes Trading Company, off 8th Street in Forest Lake, or online at lakestradingco.com.
If you love the outdoors, then you probably have a truck that you love too. Custom Truck Accessories can help protect your truck from the rigors of outdoor activities. They have custom seat covers and floor mats to protect against the mud and dirt from the field. Toppers and tonneau covers to protect your gear. If you're a truck guy, you'll appreciate the knowledge and experience of the Custom Truck Accessories crew. Visit CustomTruckAccess.com or stop by their store to see what a difference being family-owned can make for you.
Hi, it's Tom with Dan Chesky from Dan's Southside Marine, introducing Dan's Big Damn Boat Sale. The damn thing takes place now, goes through Father's Day, which should take away all of your excuses for not showing up. The perfect time for Dan's Damn Boat Sale at Dan's Southside Marine.
Get great savings on Premier, Alumacraft, and Berkshire boats coming right out of my pocket. Any damn boat you see on the website's for sale, so shop online for any damn boat you want, or come down to the store at 98th and Logan in Bloomington and see him in person. Pretty damn easy, huh?
It's Dan Chesky's Big Damn Boat Sale going on now at Dan's Southside Marine, 35W and 98th Street in Bloomington.
Our dealer incentives and factory rebates will save you a lot, and I will pitch in a few goodies too. So visit our damn website and check out the damn savings.
Everybody's talking about it. Dan's big damn boat sale going on now through Father's Day at Dan's Southside Marine, 35W and 98th Street in Bloomington, or you can shop online at dansouthsidemarine.com.
Steve Straczynski here of Coldwell Banker Burnett. It's time, my friend. If you're a Ticket Outdoors fan, then you're also a fan of hunting and fishing. I've got 29 years in real estate licensed in both Minnesota and Wisconsin, and I'll consider it a privilege to help you find that perfect lake home or the 40-acre piece of heaven that's hiding a Boone and Crockett right now. Hey, check me out on Facebook or email stru@stru.com. It's your money. Thanks. And thanks for having fun with us on the Ticket Outdoors.
This is your 105 The Ticket weather from Nature's Fury. It's going to be a nice night. Low of 63, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow's going to be a shock after the last couple of days. High of 68, showers almost all day, rainfall near half an inch. Tomorrow night, low of 58. The rain should disappear before Friday with a high of 78. Saturday and Sunday looking great as well. High of 77 on Saturday, maybe 80 on Sunday, but about a 50-50 chance of rain. This weather update is brought to you by Nature's Fury. You can find Nature's Fury at your local Cub Foods and select holiday stores.
Now back to Ticket Outdoors, only on Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
We now return you to CBS Network programming. I shouldn't really joke about that.
No, it's not 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 7:30.
I think maybe they just forgot to fire us. Did they forget about the Wednesday night?
I don't know, but when I got that text, I was on the boat, or the email from Mark, and I was on the boat, and I'm like, oh boy, I didn't. He's like, guys, unfortunately, I need to tell you. And
I know the truth behind this. For you guys that don't know what's going on, unfortunately, some friends of ours they shut down the show from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock on the Ticket Outdoors here.
And they were great guys.
Yeah, Bob Sansevier and superstar Mike Morris and Ben Holson and like Zepp was saying, did they just forget about us? No, the real truth is, Zepp, they thought we were on the cutting block as well. And then all of a sudden you go to the Stones concert and Boomer and I are in charge. And we did one hell of a show, and we got to call us to listen. We're going to hang on to you guys for a little while. So
I think it's more likely they forgot about us. Somebody from corporate is driving in right now going, I knew there was something I was forgetting to do.
But you should not forget about us, because don't forget to follow the Ticket Outdoors and all our adventures at Facebook.com/The Ticket Outdoors.
But before you do that, don't we have to have some sponsors to keep this show going, Boomer?
We do. And I would love to thank those sponsors. First, we got to thank Dan's Southside Marine down in Bloomington. Dan's been with us for a while. Thank you, Dan. If it's not too late, again, if you're looking to get some new electronics, you want a new graph or GPS, or you want to get the old motor tuned up, go in and see Dan down in Bloomington. Mills Fleet Farm, they've been with us since the beginning. I want to thank those great folks from up north. And then in St. Peter, Minnesota, Alumacraft. As you guys know, I'm pretty in love with that Tournament Pro and get the humbled opportunity to take it all across the Midwest. We just finished that catalog shoot. Want to thank the folks up at Alumacraft. And all the way from Forest Lake, Minnesota, we got the fine folks from Ben from Lakes Trading Company, and we're going to talk about his 3-man gun shoot. And then let's not forget, it's not too late to pimp out your trucks, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get some big tires on there for the fall season to go chase some Rudies out in Huron, South Dakota,
pheasant capital of the world,
you can do that. Or if you're looking to get a topper for the truck so you can throw the rods and the reels, go visit the folks at Custom Trucks and Accessories.
All right, Ben, we're out of time. He just spoke way too long. So who do we have on next?
Let me take a breath.
That's it. We're out of time. Thanks for tuning in to Ticket.
Thanks for sponsoring the Ticket Outdoors, Ben.
Less than 20 minutes. Ben Oliver is back talking about Lakes Trading Company. Ben, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back, guys.
You bet. We're going to also bring Sean Dunaway into this. He runs Dunaway Customs Arms, and we're going to be talking about suppressors, which are now legal here in Minnesota to some degree. Nobody really quite understands the specifics of the law, but we're going to dig into that. But Sean, we'll let you sort of play along. Ben, we've got you back in. How are things going at Lakes Trading?
Quite well, actually.
The last time we had you in, you guys had just sort of renovated the place. You've got 10 shooting lanes up there?
Yep, that's correct.
And tell us a little bit more about the facility.
We are a full-service gun shop. Sean is the gunsmith there, so we can do pretty much anything you need as far as it goes, as far as guns are concerned.
Yeah.
We sell all different brands, that kind of thing.
I've got a Versamax I tried to clean. I need to bring it in.
Yeah.
It's not cycling shells out. Damn it, don't ever clean your gun. Is that what you recommend to people? Don't ever clean your guns? Every time I clean my gun, it never works again.
Well, Yeah, there's a little trick to it sometimes. But,
have somebody else do it.
Yeah. That always helps.
Now, Ben, the reason we asked you back in tonight is shooting competitions are really heating up because shooting is really becoming popular with men and women and kids. And now I go out and I see this clay shooting every time I go over to the South St. Paul Gun Club.
Big time.
There's 8 school buses out there, and I can never get out on the course. The high school competitions have blown up. And then when you go to gun ranges like Lakes Trading Company or whichever one your local one is, they're a lot busier than they used to be, and a lot more of them are opening up. So shooting is very popular right now. That means shooting competitions.
Yep, that's right. There are all kinds of different competitions. Indoor ranges will schedule pistol matches, that sort of thing. Outdoor ranges, they do anywhere from clay target shooting. Leagues are a pretty big deal. But one of the biggest growing competitions is called 3-gun. So you're using a pistol, a rifle, and a shotgun all in conjunction with each other.
Man.
You do exactly what your mom told you not to do, run with guns. And so it's outstanding. It's great fun working on different skills and that sort of thing. So
let's dive into that 3-gun competition because that sounds immediately exciting when you hear about it. Walk us through the competition. In other words, you get to run. So it's an open course that you're moving through. You're not carrying all 3 firearms on you at the same time.
Typically, you'll have your holstered pistol to start out, and then you'll either start with a shotgun or a rifle. Some stages incorporate all 3 guns. Some incorporate 2. It all depends on who sets it up and that sort of thing. But as you move through the stage, you have to engage certain targets with different guns. You're shooting anywhere from point-blank range with pistols and shotguns out to 300-400 yards sometimes with rifles.
Ben, how do you think of a format for a 3-gun shoot? Is there like an overarching organization that kind of facilitates this, or how did you come up with the format?
I don't come up with it. I just started earlier this spring, so I'm somewhat new to it. I've incorporated my hunting skills with rifle and shotgun and my pistol and kind of combined them all down into this game. Really, it's a fun game.
Is there a hunting value to this type of thing? I mean, you're not going to be, that's not typically how we hunt. Right. Unless we're kids.
It increases your spot shooting. It increases your quick aim type of thing, so that
breathing control when you get a little excited, because when I'm sighting my rifle in, I'm just nice and relaxed and calm. When I see the big shooter come down range in front of me, now my breathing gets really heavy. That's my biggest thing. Exhale, hold, and pull squeeze the trigger. Because what do? We sit out there in the range and we get nice and still, and you can put a dime out in the end of the barrel. Our drill sergeants used to do that. But when you're in the field and you're hunting, now you're jerking and the breathing. Right. So it might help in that respect. The 3-gun competition, I'm still pretty fascinated about that. How long are you in the range? How many rounds are you firing typically?
It all depends on the setup. So somebody asked about who sets up the different competitions. There are a number of different people in the state that do that. Minnesota 3-Gun Group is a big deal in the state. They run competitions all over. There's another one, Twin Cities Pistol Shooters Association. They do that as well. But it all depends the number of rounds. A couple weeks ago, it was over 100 rounds of shotgun. Between 3 stages, which is pretty heavy into shotgun.
Boy, you aren't kidding.
Wow.
And that's why it's fun. You go duck hunting, you hope to see a duck around here. At least I do. But here, 100 pistol rounds, 100 rifle rounds, that kind of thing in a day.
It doesn't sound that inexpensive then if you're shooting 300 rounds in a matter of a couple of hours.
It can get pretty spendy.
Yeah.
It can get there.
How do you score something like that? So you talked about starting with a pistol and then your shotgun and your high power. How's the scoring system work?
Everything's based on time and penalties. So certain targets you have to hit a certain way. If you don't engage a target, if you don't neutralize a target, then you get penalized extra seconds. So everything is a time-based scoring system.
Yeah, the sidearm sounds pretty self-explanatory. Shotgun, are you using like these combat or assault shotguns, or am I bringing the old 870 pump out there?
The great thing about how a lot of matches are set up is somebody brand new to this discipline of shooting, you can bring your 870 out. You're not going to have the extended mag tube day one.
By the way, a lot of police officers still use the 870s. They're a little shorter stock and barrel and that sort of thing. But
you can bring your standard hunting shotgun. It helps to have an AR, or you should have an AR, just because of the added magazine capacity.
And that's what I was going with the rifle shooting. Obviously, you're not probably shooting a 30-06 or a 300 H&H. Are you moving with the rifle, or is that a stationary?
It depends on, but yes, you're moving with everything.
So, and do you provide your own firearms? Can I come out and take a spin through the course and use your AR-15 and?
If you want to come hang out with me on a Tuesday evening, I'll let you shoot my guns to try it out.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the favor, but can the layperson? I mean, no.
Really, you kind of bring your own guns.
Yeah.
Because everybody sets their own gear up and that sort of thing. But yeah.
Now, and how do folks get involved in this? So for our listeners right now, Ben, who are listening today, and we have Ben, the owner of Lakes Trading Company, talking about the 3-gun competition, which involves a pistol, a shotgun, and a high power. How do they get involved in this? Is it too late to sign up? Is it like a 4-week season? Give us some more info.
No, it's a drop-in. If you want to look for the club that I shoot at is Forest Lake Sportsman's Club. And that has on their website, I have to figure out what that is, you can find a schedule for what they hold during the summer. You can come one match, you can shoot every match. So if you want to come out and watch the first time, don't bring your guns, just figure out what's going on, get an idea, talk to people. That's a good way to start.
Yeah.
Does it have different levels of competition? So let's say, you're an amateur versus an expert. How does that work?
Everybody's based on time. So there are different classes depending on the firearms you have, but everybody's pretty much, it's more competing. I compete against myself. I want to shoot better next time I go out. I want to have fewer penalties. I want to shoot a clean match.
Somebody once mentioned that, I was reading up on this as well, and they said that if we want to start this, we have no idea what level we would be at. I know it's like a handicap system, almost like whether it's bowling or something, it's a handicap system, but if you don't know what level you're at, the guy said, don't go out and buy a whole bunch of new stuff. I mean, take your old regular stuff, the 870 Remington, maybe borrow a couple of things and see where you are, and then decide how much you want to get into this thing, because it's really, really cool.
What's the most common pistol that people are shooting in this competition?
I would say probably it's the 2011 model, so basically a double stack 1911. But you could shoot your 6-hour.
A 45?
No, 9mm.
Oh, okay.
9mm caliber is probably the number one.
It's like, wow, that's pretty hardcore out there.
Got a little pump to it.
Yeah, really, it does.
How much land do you need for a course like this? If you're saying some of the shots could be from 20 yards, and it could be, I don't know how you simulate something coming toward you, then you might have a shot that's 300 yards. How much territory do you have to cover?
I don't know how much the Forest Lake Sportsman's Club has, but it's 100 acres, 200 acres. Okay. I mean, it's not something you'd set up in your backyard unless you have a farm and a backhoe. Yeah. So it's go to a club. Again, Forest Lake Sportsman's Club is one. Minnesota 3-gun group, they have a whole schedule.
So there are moving targets as well?
No, you're moving to the targets. Right. The targets are typically stationary. Some have 2-stage. You tip over a piece of, a metal popper, and that'll throw a clay up in the air that you have to shoot.
That's cool.
Let's take a break here, guys. Ben Oliver, owner of Lakes Trading Company. Sean Dunaway is here, Dunaway Custom Arms, and does the gun work for Ben up at Lakes Trading Company. Let's come back and kind of wrap this up, and we'll talk about the suppressors, because I'm not sure if I was clear if we could just go to Lakes Trading Company and you could point us to a 3-gun competition, get us on the league, or you can just pop in by yourself.
Join me in the jungle every weekday at 11 a.m. The Jim Rome Show, only on Sports Radio 105 The Ticket.
From pro to college to high school, we've got it all covered.
Pretty much everybody has questions as to whether or not you belong out there, including the people scratching your checks, including the guys you play with.
Passionate sports talk on your sports station, 105 The Ticket.
Well, Minnesota fishing season is officially here, and it's time to hit your favorite lakes and fishing spots. Boomer here with the Ticket Outdoors, and I want to thank Alumacraft for being our official boat sponsor. I just got off the water with my Alumacraft T-Pro, and boy, do I love the space, storage, and sweet ride on the water. I love Alumacraft because they're made right here in Minnesota, and they're simply the best aluminum boat on the market. For more about Alumacraft, visit your local dealer or go to alumacraft.com.
Hi, it's Tom with Dan Chesky from Dan's Southside Marine, introducing Dan's Big Damn Boat Sale. The damn thing takes place now, goes through Father's Day, which should take away all of your excuses for not showing up. The perfect time for Dan's Damn Boat Sale at Dan's Southside Marine.
Get great savings on Premier, Alumacraft, and Berkshire boats coming right out of my pocket. Any damn boat you see on the website's for sale, so shop online for any damn boat you want, or come down to the store at 98th and Logan in Bloomington and see them in person. Pretty damn easy, huh?
It's Dan Chesky's Big Damn Boat Sale going on now at Dan's Southside Marine, 35W and 98th Street in Bloomington.
Our dealer incentives and factory rebates will save you a lot, and I will pitch in a few goodies too. So visit our damn website and check out the damn savings.
Everybody's talking about it. Dan's Big Damn Boat Sale going on now through Father's Day at Dan's Southside Marine, 35W and 98th Street in Bloomington, or you can shop online at dansouthsidemarine.com.
Father's Day, your dad, Fleet Farm, and new tools. Save $100 on a 20-volt DeWalt drill and saw combo kit. Or get Dad a gear wrench ratcheting wrench set, $19.89. Keep bugs away with a Thermacell mosquito repellent kit, $12.99 after rebate. A 45-pound thrust Endura trolling motor, $179.99. And Dad can show his true colors in NFL or NCAA polos, just $24.99.
This is your 105 The Ticket weather from Nature's Fury. It's going to be a nice night. Low of 63, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow's going to be a shock after the last couple days. High of 68, showers almost all day, rainfall near half an inch. Tomorrow night, low of 58. The rain should disappear before Friday with a high of 78. Saturday and Sunday looking great as well. High of 77 on Saturday, maybe 80 on Sunday, but about a 50-50 chance of rain. This weather update is brought to you by Nature's Fury. You can find Nature's Fury at your local Cub Foods and select holiday stores.
Now back to Ticket Outdoors, only on Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
One of the upsides for Ticket Outdoors, you know how they rerun us on Sunday mornings?
Yes.
They're going to rerun us now constantly, 24 hours a day.
Oh, nice.
Whenever you tune in, Ticket Outdoors will be on. So at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. No, Sunday mornings, 6 to 8. And then you can catch the podcast in the next day or two on 105theticket.com. Our guest, Ben Oliver, owner of Lakes Trading Company, his gunsmith, Sean Dunaway, Dunaway Custom Arms. Fellas, we're talking about this 3-gun competition thing that's really pretty cool. We're talking about it, even for guys and gals that like to go to the ranges, Lakes Trading Company, and get in one of the lanes. That can get a little redundant over a short period of time. You know, you can try your different firearms. That's how you keep it fresh and challenge yourself on the targets. But this 3-gun competition, Ben, you were just showing me a video from last night. Was that you, Sean?
No.
Okay. Just another hairy guy that was in there.
Another hairy guy.
Another good-looking hairy guy.
Moving through the course for our listeners that might just be popping in. 3-gun competition are your 3 firearms, your rifle, shotgun, and sidearm as you move through these courses. And, I mean, it sounds really cool. So can I just stop into Lakes Trading Company and say, Ben, Sean, can you guys get me started on this, point me in the right direction?
Yep, we've got all the gear basically in stock. It's all showing up all this time.
Yeah.
We have the gear for you. We can get you a schedule of what's available, where it is around the state, that sort of thing. And we can coach you through. We can talk to you.
Can we actually just watch you guys? I mean, go through and shadow somebody and watch how they go through this course? Is that okay?
Yeah, you can show up. I mean, the thing is, show up and watch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you kind of need to do. Show up and watch somebody, watch an evening's worth of shooting.
Oh, that'd be fun.
You'll start to see how people work, how people think, what's their strategy as they go through.
Fun.
You know what, guys? I can see why this 3-man gun shooting competition, a rifle and a pistol and a shotgun, is getting more popular because, Ben, we've had just last week the vice president of the Minnesota high school trap shooting,
right?
And that's just been exploding as well. And it really seems like the sport of shooting is growing. Are you seeing that as well from Lakes Trading Company perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. There are people that walk in every week saying, I've never shot before, and I want to learn.
Yeah.
You mentioned before we took a break that there's something called a 2-stage, and you mentioned that all of a sudden you go out there and shoot something, and there's a skeet or something coming up in the air. Are you saying you could be doing your thing with a rifle or a pistol, then all of a sudden a clay target goes up in the air?
That would be a specific shotgun target. So you shoot the first metal target with a shotgun, and then the clay pigeon gets launched up, so you're continuing to use the shotgun in that.
Not surprising, where you have to pitch your rifle into the gravel and grab your shotgun.
And roll over like the rifleman,
Just like we did with our BB guns when we were kids.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Ben Oliver, Lakes Trading Company, and Sean Dunaway. Let's shift a little bit from 3-gun competition and talk about this new suppressor law. I'm a South Dakota kid. Dad has one, I hope legally, since I'm saying that on the... No, I know he had to go through quite a process, I remember, to get it. And he said, well, I'm on a government watch list. I said, well, I'm sure you probably were anyway, Dad. because he had to apply for this, I believe it was like a federal license in South Dakota. And it took him like 2 years, it seemed like he had been talking about it, to finally get his. And Dad primarily wanted it for predator hunting. We have a lot of coyotes out there. And so I started to learn a little bit more about suppressors, have military training, but we all know suppressors from the movies, right? Pew! You just, pew. The first time I heard one, I'm like, well, that's not even quiet at all, man. It doesn't really suppress the sound. What Dad told me and what I got from predator hunting is it confused the coyotes, so they didn't know exactly which direction the shot was coming from. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does.
Talk about suppressors before we start talking about the law a little bit, because I think most people listening, because they haven't been legal, we think about them in movies and it's something like that.
Yeah, and the movie kind of speaks to the legend or the myth about suppressors. They make them quiet. Most suppressors, all they're there for is to suppress the sound. You're knocking down the sound signature to a level where it's safe to your bare ear. Makes a lot of sense for people who like to practice, people who hunt, people who don't want to tick off their neighbors when they're out shooting.
Yeah.
Sean, is there any truth to it? When I think of a suppressor, I remember, Dad's probably going to correct me here in a minute, but remember when Browning came out with the BRA system? It was a
Browning automatic rifle.
But it had the Boss system on it, and it was to reduce recoil, so the gas would go out the side, so that way you wouldn't, have such a hit on your shoulder, and you had a more accuracy to the shot. Is there any value to that with recoil when it comes to a suppressor system?
Absolutely. A suppressor will cut down on the felt recoil for the shooter also.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits.
Well, it's extending the barrel as well. Does that affect the way that particular firearm fires at all? Because we look at these suppressors and these things are anywhere from 3 to 8 inches long. I mean, it's really extending your, whether it be firearm or rifle.
Well, a lot of suppressors, especially the commercially manufactured ones, actually improve accuracy, because when the hot gases escape from your barrel, as it dissipates them, it's cooling the gas, it's regulating how the pressures are affecting your bullet as it leaves.
It makes sense that it would do that because a longer barrel improves accuracy. I mean, I think that's how we shop for longer barrels generally. A high-speed velocity rounds have changed that maybe a little bit because they get to their maximum speed sometimes in the barrel. But also, now you talked about, first of all, with this, let's get into the law a little bit. Okay. Now, first of all, I can't buy one for a sidearm. Those aren't legal, are they?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, they are. Yeah. So now are they just legal? Can I just go up to Lakes Trading Company and say I'll take that one? Or do you have to get the license and everything?
You still have to get the license. There is a process you have to follow. When you choose to purchase a suppressor, you need to figure out which one you want. Each individual suppressor is serial numbered.
What do you mean, which one do I want? How are they different?
Well, you can have ones made for .22 long rifles, ones made for 9mm pistols.
Okay, so the caliber is different and the firearm is different. But say for I want to get one for an AR-15. Are there different types of suppressors that suppress differently? That sounded stupid just to ask, actually.
There's many different brands. Many different sizes.
Like when we're buying a choke. Everybody's got their own little thing on it. Yep. You said commercially made one. I may or may not know someone when I was growing up that illegally made these, and they would do it by using washers and cotton balls and the piping and that sort of thing. Probably wouldn't recommend that, would you?
I wouldn't recommend it. Under this new law, an individual can legally home make their own suppressor, but there's still a pretty lengthy paperwork process.
Hey, Boomer, go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, from a hunting perspective, and again, Sean, I'm not very familiar with this law. For this year's deer hunting, we just talked about the DNR came out with some new harvest targets or whatnot. Can you use a suppressor on your 30-06 to go deer hunting?
Not in Minnesota.
As of August 1st, I've read that it will be legal.
There you go.
I was talking about right now.
With Sean Dunaway, Dunaway Custom Arms, and the gunsmith for Ben Oliver up at Lakes Trading Company. Now, Sean, is there a benefit? I mean, Is there a benefit to deer hunting with a suppressor? Because, I mean, you always think of deer hunting as a one-shot. Now, if I'm out hunting predators, the thing is when we would call in coyotes, whether we're using a distress or we're baiting them with a old dead carcass or something like that, we're bringing in multiple predators. And when you fire once, the predators scatter and generally won't come back to that area for quite some time, if they ever come back. But with the suppressors, sometimes we would find that they would actually run towards us,
right.
The fire. But if I'm out deer hunting, I'm not going really for quantity then.
No, you're not going for quantity. But the benefit would be, say you're bringing one of your daughters out.
Okay.
And you're shooting your 300 Winchester Magnum.
Yeah.
Loud rifle.
Mm-hmm.
You put a suppressor on. Now the decibel of your round going off is at a safe level where you don't have to wear ear protection, so you're not looking at that hearing damage.
You know when you could use them in the duck mode for a shotgun, but they don't make them for shotguns.
Actually, they do know.
What? Really?
Yep.
I'm way off on my suppressor.
Yeah, you better do some more research.
Listen to you over there.
So we talked about I just remember the Boss system with the reduction recoil, and it said it would reduce reduction. I remember looking at these guns years back by like 30-ish%.
Right.
And you talked about you'd get some similar benefit with that with the suppressor. Now, I could see that, Zepp and Stu, helping when you're deer hunting because, you don't get that initial kick. What kind of recoil does a suppressor reduce on a rifle?
I haven't seen any studies where they've actually figured out a percentage yet.
Yep.
But it is enough that it is very noticeable when you fire a rifle. For shooters, you're going to have the reduction in sound. The reduction in the recoil, which pays off because you're not getting that flinch that you get normally.
Right, and
well, you're sounding less sound when you're out in the tree stands and you've got your 6 buddies and everybody's got their tree stand over a 40 or an 80-acre spread. You're sending a lot less noise out through the trees, that's for sure.
Right now, I think there's only 13 states, I believe, in this country that are legal for hunting with suppressors. Am I correct? Is that about right? I think
sounds about right.
All right, and Minnesota's not one of them yet, but apparently that's going to be. The rest of a lot of those states, they allow it for citizens to use that. I don't understand what the disadvantage of why would anyone be against them as far as hunting is concerned. I can't see, and number one, that's one question, and number two is who makes the decision as to whether they're going to legalize that? Who'd be against this? What's the big deal?
Well, the stigma that the movies have created over the years is really what affects the whole outlook about suppressors.
No, I'm shocked ignorance has something to do with it.
Right.
With people having an opinion against a particular type of
automatically
hunting.
They watch the James Bond movie, they see the absolute silent suppressor, and they think, well, if anyone has a suppressor, they're automatically going to commit crimes.
Well, I know when I get one, I'm going to put in my application to be an assassin.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
All the way. So there is a benefit to this. I'll be honest with you, and maybe I sometimes fall into the old school. Boomer over here loves his gadgets, his electronics, and all the newest and latest and greatest when he's out doing stuff, and it works very well for him, and there's a great industry there. But is this something you think, Sean, that's going to catch on, that more and more guys and gals are going to start using suppressors to hunt with?
I think it very possibly could.
I worry also about adding that length to my rifle, whether you're working in a tree stand or you're working in a brush area. And how does that work with a shotgun, man? A suppressor. Boy, you're adding length to a shotgun. That's going to really affect. Plus the way, whether you're in a blind or I'm walking corn stalks or whatever, I don't know if I want an extra 6 inches on that barrel.
Right.
Well, I kind of think about being in the deer stand, too, when you're out, up for Minnesota firearm opener. And when you hear a rifle shoot, you can always hear the ka-wump, right?
Yeah, right.
When you hear it in the deer stand or whatnot, and you hear someone
especially if you miss.
Right, it's silent. But my dad always said is, when you hear that ka-wump, you can hear that. You won't be able to do that deer hunting, right?
I think one of the things that Sean brought up was pretty important. If you look at guys who are in this industry like you and do this hunting and fishing and stuff every day, damn near, whether it's bird hunting, and you're out in the field, you don't wear ear things when you're out in the field. You hear that shotgun shot 10, 15 times a day, 5 days a week for 30 years. That's got to be a long-range effect on you.
When I'm out there with Dad, my uncle, my brothers, and we're sighting in our 30-06s and our 300s and, the 308s, that's a long day out there. You have your ear protection as well, but You don't always have it. I would worry about sighting in with a suppressor and then hunting without it. So I guess if you're going to sight in with it, if you're going to take it to the range, then you better, I would think, take it hunting. I don't know if it affects that. I think I just said something ignorant regarding shotguns, though. Obviously, if you're using a suppressor on a shotgun, that would be for a slug. That wouldn't pertain to...
They do work on shot.
Really?
Not quite as efficiently.
Yeah.
But they do.
Oh, that surprised me.
Probably hold a tighter pattern of almost like a full choke, right?
Full choke. Yeah, you got a long-ass choke on that thing, man.
But I do see, that benefit piece of, when you're shooting, a lot of it is mental. You talked about the breathing piece of, you see that animal and you try to breathe out and then gently squeeze the trigger. But, a lot of that sometimes is trying not to anticipate the flinch. Right. So if you're sighting in a rifle, though, I could see a lot of value with it, right? Because after you fired a couple rounds, Zep, and you're like, and then
like, where's that shoulder pad thing?
Right.
Well, Sean and Ben, both you guys are involved in this industry full the time for the most part. Do you have any argument against suppressors for hunters 100%?
I don't have any.
When Governor Dayton signs it into law without people, down there with pitchforks and torches, must not. They're just people just don't know why to object. Something I definitely want to try out. Now the law doesn't take effect, as you said, like most of the laws in the last session, until August 1st.
July 1st.
July 1st.
We can legally possess. August 1st, you can use.
Well, I got a couple extra bucks. I didn't know what to spend it on. Now I know.
You know what? Speaking of bucks for our listeners out there, Sean, what's the range of price a suppressor could cost?
Good question.
Well, your cheaper end suppressors for like a 22 long rifle are going to be around $350, and then the price goes up from there.
Wow. A suppressor for a 22 long rifle. Yeah, that doesn't have a lot of sound to it anyway, but maybe that's why they're a little bit cheaper.
That's about the only gun where you're going to get the movie-like results.
Yeah, I think we're all doing the same thing that I think a lot of guys and gals are doing, are going, suppressors. I think I'll have to try one, won't I?
Yeah.
Sean Dunaway, you guys will be selling them up there and offering them and teaching guys and gals how to get them on there. And
yep,
that's the other thing. Do you have to put? My rifle has got just a blunt end. I see James Bond screwing it on there.
Yep, you can thread barrels. Different companies make quick attach adapters and stuff now.
I bet you guys do stuff like that, don't you?
Absolutely.
Sean Dunaway Custom Arms, and they can. Sean, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Lakes Trading Company website?
DunawayCustomArms.com.
DunawayCustomArms.com. Yeah, boom.
Yeah, one last question. You talked about an application process. So for our listeners who, once this goes into effect, when's the date?
July 1st.
Okay, July 1st. Can they go to Lakes Trading Company and do the application process there?
We can get it started and head them in the right direction.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Ben, thank you very much.
You bet. Thanks for having me back.
Finding out more about this 3-gun competition.
I'm going to stop up there and check that stuff out.
Let me know when you're headed up.
And thank you for your support of the Ticket Outdoors, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hear Tiki and Tierney weekday mornings starting at 8. I'm Tiki Barber, and you're listening to 105 The Ticket.
From the locker room to your radio, tune in the wake-up call from the writers of Cold Omaha every Sunday morning at 8.
Mike Zimmer, who's trying to build a monster.
I think this team is really designed to be an elite defense that can be productive offensively. Bring in good defensive players, get Zimmer what he needs, solidify the defense, make sure that you're not going to get routed in any game.
Zimmer is building a team that can easily win a game if Bridgewater is able to put up 21 points.
The wake-up call with Cold Omaha on Minnesota's Sports Radio, 105 The Ticket.
There are reasons they're called the silent sports. No engines, no fumes, no wakes. Just the sound of a paddle blade knifing through the water. And maybe the occasional call of a loon who's willing to share a lake. Glide across your favorite water this summer with a canoe, kayak, or stand-up paddleboard. Mills Fleet Farm has them all. This year, really get on the water with Mills Fleet Farm.
The Ticket Outdoors is proud to be a partner with Lakes Trading Company. Why? Because they kick. That's why. Guns to buy, guns to shoot, guns to rent, and the best prices on ammo around. We love Lakes Trading Company because they eat, sleep, and breathe guns just like us. Looking to get a permit to carry class or renew your old permit? Don't be disappointed by a cut-rate instructor. Lakes Trading Company has top-notch instructors and on-site range and meals provided. Lakes Trading Company, off 8th Street in Forest Lake, or online at lakestradingco.com.
If you love love the outdoors, then you probably have a truck that you love too. Custom Truck Accessories can help protect your truck from the rigors of outdoor activities. They have custom seat covers and floor mats to protect against the mud and dirt from the field. Toppers and tonneau covers to protect your gear. If you're a truck guy, you'll appreciate the knowledge and experience of the Custom Truck Accessories crew. Visit CustomTruckAccess.com or stop by their store to see what a difference being family-owned can make for you.
Well, Minnesota fishing season is officially here, and it's time to hit your favorite lakes and fishing spots. Boomer here with the Ticket Outdoors, and I want to thank Alumacraft for being our official boat sponsor. I just got off the water with my Alumacraft T-Pro, and boy, do I love the space, storage, and sweet ride on the water. I love Alumacraft because they're made right here in Minnesota, and they're simply the best aluminum boat on the market. For more about Alumacraft, visit your local dealer or go to alumacraft.com.
Now back to Ticket Outdoors, only on Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
We never stop talking about hunting and fishing on the Ticket Outdoors, do we?
I'd love to do the show that we do during the commercial break. Can we do that on a...
Can we do an unedited, uncut Ticket Outdoors?
Only that's right.
Listen,
Ticket Outdoors
I know
after hours.
we've got Timmy Moore, our buddy Timmy Moore is on the line waiting for us. But Tim, you're a big shot, but not big enough to interrupt the Strew Man here. Hey, listen, we're talking about the three-gun shooting competition. I wanted to bring this up a little bit. I thought this was so cool. That's nothing what these guys do. There's something called the MGM Ironman match. And these guys, this year, competitors will be expected to shoot from a zip line after launching themselves off a 3-story tower. And they'll be carrying 40 pounds worth of weapons and bullets and things, and it's
I don't want to be out videotaping that one.
That's the Iron Man of the 3-gun competition.
Hard enough time just hitting them in a stable deer stand.
Wouldn't that be a lot of fun?
Let alone getting on a dang zip line, huh?
Zip line. Tim Moore Outdoors. Welcome back to Ticket Outdoors, Tim.
Thanks, fellas.
Yeah.
Timmy, where are we calling you from? Where are you at, buddy?
I'm in good old Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Portsmouth, New Hampshire. What's the weather like out there?
It's getting dark now, but it's about 75 degrees. It's a beautiful day today, a little breezy.
Yeah? What'd you do today, Timmy?
Went fishing.
I'm shocked.
So, Timmy,
I had a flounder fishing, kayak fishing charter today.
Oh, kayak fishing.
Flounders.
I know. I keep hearing more and more about that kayak fishing. What was the big flounder of the day?
Nothing giant today. The winds were a little bit much.
Hey, Tim, this is Straczynski here. I'm sorry, but when you're talking about kayak fishing and you're talking about you had like a charter, are you saying that you have 7, 8, 9 people with you and they all have their individual kayaks? You're taking them fishing someplace, right?
No, I do take them fishing and they give me money for it. But
So, Tim, I think we had you on the show back in, when was it, January?
Still, yeah, it was Hardwater. He was here for that whole Hardwater tour thing, running around with the Team Ice guys. Was that it?
I think I was there in March.
March, huh? So what's new at Tim Moore's Outdoors?
TV.
After hours.
Tim Moore.
A lot more to say. Guiding, writing, get some new writing opportunities that are really fun. Writing for North American Fiction.
I must have you on the cell phone tonight. We're having losing you, buddy.
Tough reception there, buddy.
I'm sorry. How's that?
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, just don't move. Yeah. Don't move.
I won't move at all. I won't move.
Don't flush the toilet.
Stick your fishing rod up in the air. Maybe that'll help.
I don't think so.
So when we had Tim Moore's Outdoors, who's from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, he's a friend of the show, and you did a Kickstarter campaign to start a social media show, and you were just getting going. So get our listeners up to speed on how that's progressing.
Yeah, it's good. We're just kicking off second season. We got through the fall and winter, had some really good play. First episode aired in November, and we're just about to hit 7,000 views on that, which is awesome. We've had some help from like Kayak Angler Magazine. That was a kayak fishing episode. So we're just kicking that off. We had a really cool turkey hunting episode that's been getting a lot of play. Did a little ground fishing episode, and I'm kind of in a planning stage right now. We got a really cool stuff that we're going to do this summer. We're going to do what's called a mothership trip, where a boat takes me out offshore and my kayak drops me off and I fish, and they film me from the boat while I fish for
That's cool.
That's kind of cool.
How far offshore are you going to be, Tim?
Could be as far as 30 miles.
Wow. What did you say you were fishing for?
It depends on which boat I end up going with. One boat they take me out to Jeffrey's Ledge out in the Atlantic Ocean fishing for haddock, pollock, out in the cod waters.
Now, a kayak out in the ocean, are you out of a bay doing that? I mean, you got to almost be in a bay. You're out in the big shop?
We're going to load the kayak up on the boat, and they're going to drive me out on the boat, and then I'm going to get in the kayak and fish out of the kayak, and they're going to film me from the boat.
That's some rocking and rolling. You might be fishing perpendicular.
Yeah, there's a good chance of hooking up with a shark while we're out there, so I'm pretty psyched for that.
Oh, jeez. So, Tim, you just told our listeners and us at Ticket Outdoors, and for our listeners, don't forget to follow us at facebook.com/The Ticket Outdoors. We have Tim Moores, who started Tim Moores Outdoor TV from Portsmouth, New Hampshire on, and he just finished season 1, and he talked about his turkey hunting adventure, chasing some fish in a kayak, some ice fishing. Tim, what did you learn in the first season?
That there isn't enough time in the day.
So walk our listeners through what that's like when you start your outdoor TV show. How much time do you spend in the field and the editing and all that before they get to see it?
I spend, most of the time in the field, it's just a normal day of fishing. But there are those times when sometimes, I try to keep my episodes between 10 and 15 minutes, and sometimes it takes 2 days to film to get enough footage, because if the weather is bad, you've got to deal with it's reality. You see what the viewer sees is 10 to 15 minutes out of anywhere from 12 to 24 hours worth of filming.
Hey, Tim, we've only got a couple of minutes left here, and the schedule kind of got screwed up tonight. So I want to make sure for some of our listeners, kayak fishing, we've been hearing more and more about it. What do you have for some tips for some people getting started in kayak fishing?
I get this question a lot, and actually I say hire a guide. The best way to find out if you're going to like it and how you want to set up your kayak is to just basically use somebody else's for the day. And then, I taught a class a couple of weeks ago, and we had a couple of the students that realized halfway through that it wasn't for them. And so they didn't have the expense or the trouble of having to go out and set up a kayak on their own. So they were able to hire me and figure it out, that way, and how they wanted to set it all up. So that's my biggest piece of advice is if you don't have friends that you can borrow one, hire a guy to take you out, show you how it's done. They'll, a good kayak fishing guide will teach you how to set your kayak up and what kind of a kayak you want based on where and how you're fishing.
Hey, Tim, Steve Straczynski again here. I tell you what, I've watched a lot of your things there, and these guys are making fun of me without. No, they're just.
I'm sorry, focus.
Yeah, but
sorry.
Anyway,
the
favorite episode that I've seen of you was when you were fishing for northerns. You call them pike, we call them northerns. I guess you call them northern pike. And you were fishing someplace called by coincidence called the Moore Dam Reservoir, right?
Yeah.
And the coolest thing about that was it was about I don't know how much. Your shows are 15, 20 minutes. How long are they?
Yeah, about 15.
And you had on probably a 40-inch pike. I had it on. I timed it for about 8 minutes and lost it at the boat.
Ooh.
And I thought, that doesn't happen to Tim Moore.
It does. The backstory behind that fish was there was about 5 minutes of footage before that where we were trying to discuss whether or not we wanted more video or more photos. And I made it very clear that I wanted to get as much video as we possibly could, even at the expense of losing that fish at the boat, which is exactly what happened, because we discussed it. Getting all that video was going to give that fish a chance to rest, and we probably weren't going to be able to boat it.
And I remember you caught it on. You said you caught it on the Whisperer, right? Is that what you caught it on?
Yeah. I invented that lure. It's
really?
Mac Lures.
Yeah, shoot us again the website and the media site and the whole thing for our listeners. We're going to have to run along here, Tim, but we want to make sure people can watch the shows and see what it is you make and have to offer.
Actually, if they just go to my website, TimMooreOutdoors.com, they can get to my Facebook, they can get to my YouTube channel, and Tim Moore Outdoors on YouTube. They can get to all that right from TimMooreOutdoors.com.
All right, Tim, thanks. We know you're an hour ahead of us over there, so we'll let you get back to your night. Thanks for being a guest again on Ticket Outdoors.
Hey, I tell you what, Tim, don't hang up, Tim. We got to talk to you off the air, okay?
Okay.
Hang tight. Are we doing mystery guest next?
Perot and events. Tune in every weeknight at 9 in the Twin Cities. Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
Attention, are you looking for a great new business opportunity? Then listen up, because Entrepreneur Magazine just ranked this franchise #1 again. That's right, Health Source, the world's leading chiropractic health and wellness franchise, has been ranked the #1 health services franchise 7 years in a row. And now, for the first time, Health Source is opening its franchise opportunities to non-chiropractors as well as those in the field looking to make money in a proven business model with unlimited potential. Even if you have no direct experience but are ready for a new, exciting, and profitable venture, call the Business Opportunity Hotline now at 800-472-0263. But hurry, as space in this area is limited. Call 800-472-0263 now to get all the free information you need to see if this opportunity is right for you. No matter what your background is, Health Source provides an unparalleled business opportunity with proven systems and unlimited earning potential. Don't miss out. Call 800-472-0263. That's 800-472-0263. 800-472-0263.
You save big money. You save big money when you shop.
Check out the great deals on paint and stain now during Menard's Sizzling Savings Sale. You'll find the best brands, best quality, and best price, period. Give your home a new look with top quality paint by Dutch Boy. Max Bond Exterior has advanced technology for superior adhesion along with one-coat coverage on chalky, glossy, dirty, and previously painted surfaces. Plus, Max Bond features a no-prep, no-prime formula that saves you time and money. Now, during Menard's Sizzling Savings Sale, save $10 per gallon or $50 on 5-gallon pails after instant savings and rebates. Stop in today for this and many more hot deals during Menard's Sizzling Savings Sale. And while you're shopping, don't forget to register for your chance to win a Jeep Wrangler.
Save big money at Menards.
The mission of Citizens Supporting Our Armed Forces is to send care packages to deployed soldiers overseas. 100% of the money raised goes towards these items to be shipped. Their next event is Saturday, June 13th with the Red Bull Motorcycle Run, a 140-mile cycle ride starting at North Branch American Legion and ending up at Stars and Stripes in Wyoming. Pre-register at a reduced rate online at csoaf.com. You can also register before the ride from 8 to 11 a.m. Kickstands up at 11:30.
From the Mills Fleet Farm Studios, WGDX Lakeville, WRXP Cambridge, WGBZ Eden Prairie, a Cumulus station.
Geico RV presents Reflections from the Road.
After a few hours riding in my RV, I get in the zone. It's just me, the road, and the savings I get with Geico RV insurance. There's no more worries, no more 9-to-5 hustle. It's like I'm a caged animal set free. What's that? Is it a grizzly bear? No, it's just me switching to Geico RV insurance. Saving money, wild and free.
Geico, for your RV, trailer, or camper. See how much you could save.
Now back to Ticket Outdoors, only on Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
Boomer, what do you got for us, buddy?
You know what? We wouldn't be able to have this fun on air without great sponsors. And let's give a quick shout out again to Dan Southside Marine, who's been with us for a while now. If you're looking for some new electronics for that boat, you're looking to get it tuned up, go visit the great folks down in Bloomington at Dan Southside. And then down in St. Peter, Minnesota-made Alumacraft. They've been a great sponsor of ours. We'll talk a little bit about the catalog shoot. I was with them next. And Lakes Trading Company. We had Ben and Sean here. He's got that 3-gun competition going on. They've got 10 lanes. Go visit those folks in Forest Lake. And again, if you need to get some new techie electronic stuff, or you want to rig up the tires or get the truck ready for hunting season, go visit the fine folks at Custom Truck and Accessories.
They have their open house up there right now. Remember, they're doing their, the mud truck show,
yes,
and the swap meet up there right now, and I think that goes till about 9 o'clock. They do that every Wednesday night while we're doing the show down here. Maybe they've even got us on up there. I hope so. Thanks, gang. Remember, summer is here. I don't care what the calendar says. We're past Memorial Day. Summer is here. And whether you're going to go on a road trip or just going to the store, you'll need a great set of tires. Now, during Mills Fleet Farm's Destination Summer Drive event, you'll receive up to a $70 prepaid card when you purchase a new set of qualifying Cooper tires. Got to get all 4 of them there. So thank you, Mills Fleet Farm. Fellas, that 3-gun competition, by the way, I wasn't familiar with. I saw on YouTube. I love to watch these gun competition things also on, I know the History Channel has one, Marksman and different things, and these guys move through these courses, but I didn't realize just any old person could head on up to the Forest Lake Gun Club and head on out into a course and just start blasting away.
I think it'd be so cool just to watch because if I've got everyone knows I got 870 Remington, 30 Winchester. That's all I've got.
Yeah.
And
you'd be like the rifleman out there.
couple of pellet guns. But I think it'd really be fun to go out there and to watch how this goes.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that they're combining marksmanship with time. So you can't just take your time and blast and walk to the next station and blast. You've got to be conscious of how fast you're going as well. That's pretty cool stuff.
These folks move through there. It's a deliberation, and it's I remember it in the military when we would go through like a pistol course or something like that. There was a quote they had from Wild Bill Hickok stenciled onto the room there at the Firearms Training Center down in Fort Leonard Wood, and it said, I'm going to try and remember this. It's only been 30 years, and it said. They asked him, how he was able to outdraw everybody and hit what he was trying to hit so well. He was such a good quick draw. And he said, take your time in a hurry.
That's well said.
And that's sort of how you move through those courses. You take your time, but in a hurry, and it's constant fluid movement. Boom, boom, boom. Hit your targets. Keep moving.
Well, if anyone's interested in this, and I think a lot of people are, you can probably go to lakestradingcompany.com and get more information. And I know that the Ben's going to share some information with Mark and put it on our Facebook page, right? But I think it'd really be cool. And I can see this thing taking off almost like the clay target shooting from high school. Go ahead, Mark.
See, I don't want to combine exercise with anything I enjoy. I like shooting because I can sit my butt there and shoot.
Maybe like our fractional toy guys. Maybe Rick could give you one of those mobile things. We can get you
I'm out for that.
And take you through it.
One more thing about the 3-gun shooting competition. I talked to you about this off the air a little bit, but it's even bigger than that. There's a competition called the MGM Ironman match, and it says this year competitors will be expected to shoot from a zip line after launching themselves off a 3-story tower. The next stage involves diving into a tunnel and moving down a bunch of subterranean targets with a pistol equipped with a weapon light and laser.
Somebody is going to put a round in their foot.
And here's the super open division. It says here, the thing here is the only snag about the super open division is that you have to bump everything on your back for 3 days, and a 140-pound pack is not uncommon.
Yeah, well, that's now we're getting into Ranger and Special Forces stuff. That's for the hardcore, man. A 3-gun competition. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Should be fun.
Yeah. I guess that's why they put the Iron Man tag on it.
It's a lot of money for bullets, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Those guys, I think, who knows how with those guys. I mean, they just live it. But they probably have sponsors from Federal and Winchester and Remington and get all their crap.
Now, we didn't have enough time when we started this show, but I want to hear more about your experience this last week up in wherever you were with Alumacraft. That's a hell of a story. I'm pretty excited for you.
No, we do have like a half-hour lake report that he's got to. Don't give it all away, man. Tease us a little bit.
Well, I tell you what, it was such a humbling and learning experience to be around such great anglers and personalities that Alumacraft had up there. And again, we were up in northern Minnesota, and Bill and Aaron at Geiger's Trails Inn did a nice job. And I ran down to St. Peter, Minnesota, and I got to pick up one of the new 2016 Alumacraft T-Pros, which I can't wait for the public to see it. It is so amazing what they've done to it.
When does the public get to see the 2016s? That's typically August?
2016.
2016. Typically the boat shows and those happen in the winter.
Really?
So they'll probably start to see them a little later than now. Probably.
I thought they usually brought them out late season. Everybody
it's not a car. It's not a Toyota.
Well, the new motorcycles for 2016 come out in August.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't know exactly when they do that, Zepp, but I know that's when a lot of the big marketing push happens and the public gets to see it. But I ran down to St. Peter and then ran up to northern Minnesota to go visit those guys on Leech Lake and Federal Dam. And I just have a new appreciation what goes into those catalog shoots. Because, you show up to a sports show and you grab a couple soda pops and you walk around and you got a lot of different booths there, and you walk by the Alumacraft booth and you pick up one of those catalogs and you see these awesome pictures of guys and girls holding fish, lifestyle images, and you really don't understand what goes into it. I got up there and I did a little fishing, and I got to see our friend John Thielen from what's the name of John's show again, Mark?
Fishhead TV.
Fishhead TV, and he had just got done filming. He did a great episode. I think they were chasing some big bluegills somewhere up there. And we did a little fishing, looking for some picture fish. And we got done at about 9 o'clock at night. And we had some other folks getting filmed, like the Fluke Master down in Georgia. They had another gentleman from In-Fisherman, Doug Stange, who's the executive director there. And we didn't get done from the landing till about 10 o'clock at night. And then we went out to go get a bite to eat. And we didn't get back to the cabins till about midnight, 12:30. And you think, all right, we're going to sleep in and go. And they're like, all right, Boomer, you got to get up at 4 a.m. because you're going to do some early morning shots. And I'm like, oh, my God, it's 1 a.m.
Anytime someone says photo shoot, I head the other way. But here's the thing. They never try and stop me. But no, I've done just one or two simple little things. And one with motorcycles.
Playgirl.
Yeah, Playgirl. Well, you guys probably haven't seen my feet. I've got exquisite feet. I do a lot of flip-flop shoots. But
your foot model.
Playgirl. Talk about your photoshopping. That's a muskie there.
Sorry, didn't mean to throw you.
No, but it's, you go out there and you think, what do you need? A picture? So what do we got to take, like 10 of them?
Yeah.
No, it's an 8-hour, and they got
it. It is. So, you get up at, I got up at 4 in the morning, and of course I go run to the truck, and I'm half shaven, and of course I'm running behind. So then I run back to the cabin, to try to clean up and look presentable for the cameras. And then we showed up and we went to Deer Lake, which is a beautiful lake up there in northern Minnesota. It's really clear, a lot of rocks, a lot of different Norway pines, just beautiful ambiance for taking your pictures. And I show up and I see this huge pontoon, which I really wasn't a part of during the Friday night. I can't even get my days. The first night I got up there, and it's this double-decker beast that people can get all the way up on the tallest platform to take pictures. There's about 8 or 10 people that are part of this production, and me and another girl, Judy, jump in the boat. And we get out there, and all of a sudden, I kind of hear this noise, this bzz, 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 and I look around, and it's a drone. And it's got a camera on it, and it's following us around, and it's doing video. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Wow,
just for a Cadillac. Just for a catalog, brother. That's really cool.
Catalog. So we get out there, and we get out of the landing, and we run out to the lake about 10 to, not 10, maybe about a half a mile to a mile. And the first shots they want to do is getting the boat going full bore. They want to get some action shots. And I'm looking to my right, and I'm looking at this big pontoon. And, most of the time you think a pontoon's maybe going to run, 20, 30 miles an hour. And they're like, Boomer, just floor it and don't look at us. And I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, just floor it. So we gunned down the T-Pro, and we got a little walkie-talkie next to us to make sure that we're doing the right things, which I learned later how that works because I wasn't listening as good as I should. You guys wouldn't be surprised. And I gun it down, and we're just flying down this lake. And we're probably running a mile to 2 miles. And I look at Judy, and I'm like, are they anywhere near us? And as I look to my left, there is this dang pontoon that can run up to 50 miles an hour, keeping up with us.
And that's a double-decker pontoon.
A double-decker pontoon.
Has that got like the triple pontoon?
Wow.
The one?
Oh, it's got to have. Yeah, it has to have.
You know what? I don't think it did. I think it only had 2, but it had...
Not all of them do, but they put those big... No, that was probably, what, a 300, do you think?
It had 2 300-horse motors on it. So that thing had no problem keeping up with us.
Was it touching the water?
Yeah, my Lord.
And they kept yelling, don't look at the boat, right? So then we get in and we finish those action shots, and that was really cool. I got to see them afterwards. And of course, you're still on that adrenaline rush. I only had, 2 to 3 hours of sleep, and we go up to this reeds, and they want to get action shots of Judy and I fishing. So we start our casting, and I'm up in the front with the trolling motor on the foot pedal, and all of a sudden I hear this walkie-talkie saying, point your boat starboard, right? And I'm going, what? Where's this coming from, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you got to turn it to the left, you turn it to the right, and you're doing the casting. And then the next thing I know, I hear this bzz, bzz, and I cast, and I almost felt bad because I about nailed this $5,000 drone, right, with my crankbait. I'm like, they're never going to invite me.
I want to see a picture of you holding a drone up like a big trophy.
Way out in front.
Way out in front, hiding my hands, right? And that was kind of a surreal moment.
Looks like Black Hawk Down.
And they're like, well, and I'm like, oh my God, we're next to the spot, and these sunfish are bedding right here. And of course, then I go into fishing mode. Now, that's not what I was supposed to be doing, right?
No,
and I'm
you're just out there posing, man.
Posing, and I'm like, oh, don't worry, guys, I got this little crappie jig, and I got a little foo-foo on it. So, of course, I'm out there trying to catch this little sunfish, and I catch this rock bass, which is about 3 inches long. And obviously, that's not going to work, right? No, it didn't.
Not a good photo fish?
Even with my hand sticking out and trying to hide them as much, that one probably is not going to make the catalog. Right? And so we spun around there, and they got some different lifestyle images, and then we ran it one time fast again so they could get some more pictures. Well, we probably started at about 5:30 in the morning, and by the time we got done shooting in that new Tournament Pro with Judy and I, it was about probably 2 o'clock, but I have a funny story that it's going to embarrass myself. So we get to the dock, and they're going to start filming and taking photos of this other tiller. And right now, this is the time of year where smallmouths are on beds, right? And they're very protective of them. And we'll talk about it in the lake report. But as you're cruising around in rocky areas and you're seeing like a lot of like small little pebble rocks that have just kind of been turned over, that's where the smallies are kind of guarding those beds. And we get up to the dock and they're like, oh my God, Boomer, there's a smallie. So I get out and I'm like, all right, I'm going to catch this fish. And I got a little crankbait, you got to reel it in kind of fast to get it to go down in the water. I throw it, I hit the dock a couple times, make a complete ass of myself, in front of everyone. Yeah. But then finally I get it close and I start to bring it in, and this smallmouth comes right off the bed and almost jumps out of the water and misses it. And I'm like, oh, God, I got to do it again. So then I cast it back over under this dock, and this smallie just inhales it, right? And they're filming this. Well, with my luck, the dang smallmouth starts wrapping around the pole underneath. So I'm like out of the boat now, like walking on the dock, so embarrassed because I didn't bring it in the right way. And here I am.
That's the kind of stuff I want to see in the catalog.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like, this is the shop for me.
And I'm like Elmer Fudd in front of all the production crew and the Alumacraft folks. And I'm now like leaning down on the dock trying to grab this largemouth as it's flying all over this pole and wrapped around. And then finally when I get to grab it, it breaks the line. Okay, so now I have the smallmouth sitting on a bed underneath me with a crankbait in its mouth. Everyone looking at me like, what did you just do? So I said, hey, let's grab the net out of the Tournament Pro, and I'm going to go try to net a smallmouth in shallow water, right? I am determined. So I go over and I get the net, and of course Kent from Alumacraft's like, no, I'm going to catch it or whatnot. I bring the net down there. I about fall in the water as I'm leaning over trying to get it. The smallmouth goes away, but for our listeners, they are still very creatures of habit, very protective of those beds. It comes back over, and at this point, I've completely muted out everyone because I'm so embarrassed. I get the net underneath the smallmouth, bring it back out, get it under the dock, get the dang smallmouth out, and I hold it up, and all of a sudden I just hear this.
Yay!
And we get it out, and we release the smallmouth, and then that was the end of my photo shoot.
Exhausting.
Yes, and then we went...
No, I mean listening to your story.
Oh.
I'll be right back with Drew's Mystery Guest.
This is Carl Eller. You're listening to 105, The Ticket.
On Deck Radio with Pete Wagner and former Twins Gene Larkin and Al Newman.
When it comes tryout time, how busy is your facility a week before? Because kids think that they can put in just a week worth of practice and make a ball club.
You're competing against your teammates for playing time. Yeah, the camaraderie for a team is essential to have fun, but you're also competing with your guy in practice.
Tune in On Deck Radio, Saturday mornings at 11. Wall-to-wall baseball talk on Sports Radio 105 The Ticket.
Father's Day, your dad, Fleet Farm, and new tools. Save $100 on a 20-volt DeWalt drill and saw combo kit. Or get Dad a gear wrench ratcheting wrench set, $19.89. Keep bugs away with the Thermacell Mosquito Repellent Kit. $12.99 after rebate. A 45-pound thrust Endura trolling motor. $179.99. And Dad can show his true colors in NFL or NCAA polos. Just $24.99.
Hi, it's Tom with Dan Chesky from Dan's Southside Marine, introducing Dan's Big Damn Boat Sale. The damn thing takes place now, goes through Father's Day, which should take away all of your excuses for not showing up. The perfect time for Dan's Damn Boat Sale at Dan's Southside Marine.
Get great savings on Premier, Alumacraft, and Berkshire boats coming right out of my pocket. Any damn boat you see on the website's for sale, so shop online for any damn boat you want, or come down to the store at 98th and Logan in Bloomington and see him in person. Pretty damn easy, huh?
It's Dan Chesky's Big Damn Boat Sale going on now at Dan's Southside Marine, 35W and 98th Street in Bloomington.
Our dealer incentives and factory rebates will save you a lot, and I will pitch in a few goodies too. So visit our damn website and check out the damn savings.
Everybody's talking about it. Dan's Big Damn Boat Sale going on now through Father's Day at Dan's Southside Marine, 35W and 98th Street in Bloomington, or you can shop online at dansouthsidemarine.com.
There should be a little thing here. Let me try this button.
Now back to Ticket Outdoors, only on Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
I can't start without that. Until that guy brings us back, none of us can say anything.
Hey, I'll tell you what, the coolest thing about Boomer's story?
Yeah.
He must be a hell of a magician because that bass went from a largemouth to a smallmouth to a largemouth to a smallmouth. How he does this stuff is amazing.
I'll tell you, Boom, though.
Well, we were looking at a
Did you have, because it doesn't sound like a lot of fun. Did you have fun?
I tell you what, it is an absolute blast. I mean, the days went by, and before you knew it, it was nighttime, and you were done, and you couldn't believe all the fun experiences.
And you're out there with a pretty lady.
Yes, we did have a pretty lady in the boat.
And it's long days, but it's not like you were roofing or something. You're fishing somewhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of pretty ladies.
And you were speaking English. Yeah.
Speaking of pretty ladies, Drew, would you introduce our mystery?
Hey, no. Chris is a young man.
Oh, our producer spelled it K-R-I-S.
No, but Chris is a good-looking young man. Chris Munchow is his name. Chris, are you on the air, my friend? Softball game go.
It went good. The girls won. They played well and got done in time for me to get into a little better cellular area, so hopefully you can hear me all right.
You must have been listening earlier, were you? It happens because, as I explained to Tim Moore, and if you were listening at the top of the hour, we didn't have the best reception because we talked to a lot of our guests, aren't sitting at home on the couch often. They're out in the field. They're sitting along the side of the road. How many interviews have we done with guys sitting in their pickup?
Oh, yeah.
So we appreciate it, Chris, jockeying for better reception.
Oh, not a problem, guys.
Remember the first time we did this? Chris, we've been on the air for about a year and a half right now, I think, and we had a guy who was used to be a big upcoming star country music guy, and it didn't work for him, so he started singing parodies, country songs, parodies about the outdoors. And he was coming from Mexico to Texas, and he pulled over to the side of the road and sang us a couple of parody songs in his pickup truck, and that was a lot of fun.
With his guitar, I remember that.
So are you going to do that for us, Chris?
Yeah.
Not yet. I'm working on the guitar thing, and the voice is never going to be there, but maybe someday I'll be decent enough to play a little bit on the guitar.
I'll tell you what, Chris Munchow is on the air with us on the Ticket Outdoors 105, and Chris is from Stacy, Minnesota. He's a muskie guide.
Yeah.
He will fish all kinds of things. Anything that swims, he's going to go after, but he's specialized.
Muskie season.
He's specialized June 6th, right? It just started last weekend.
Saturday.
Yep, and he specializes in metro muskies, and there aren't any muskies in the metro. Are there? Are there?
White bear.
Yeah, it could be a couple of. Tell us about your business, and I think it's called, what's it called? I can find you at Chris at chrismunchow.com, but give us your website and tell us all about your business.
Yeah, you guys got it. It's chrismunchow.com, and I primarily muskie guide. Where I kind of specialize in taking new people out, new to the muskie fishing scene. I get a lot of hardcore guys as well, but a lot of my clients are new and they want to kind of get their feet wet chasing muskies. And one thing I try to do, I kind of specialize in providing a real fun experience. In other words, I'm not out there making them throw the big heavy baits and wearing them out within an hour or two. We try to kind of gear the day around a lot of topwater fishing. I myself am about 95 to 98% topwater these days. I've been chasing these things a long time, and there's just not a better thrill in the world than catching them on topwater, and it makes real good video.
So I try to set up the day for my clients so they can throw quite a bit of topwater, and they have a blast. And you get a muskie on topwater, it's a memorable experience.
Yeah, because, I mean, just seeing them come into the boat, even if you don't get them on the figure eight or however you're bringing them in, gets you pretty excited. Lord knows I've been there. Yeah, boom.
You know, Chris, Boomer here. Hey, man, thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
So, Chris, we've had quite a few muskie guests on the show, and I'm not a big muskie hunter. I love to chase walleyes. That's kind of the fish I really have a passion for growing up and still do today. But I remember, guys, remember when we did the broadcast at the Muskie Expo down at the college in St. Paul?
You bet.
And, Chris, it just seems like these muskie diehards, it's like a cult.
They're all sick.
Yeah, there's so much energy and passion into this sport, and you could hear it during the interviews. Chris, and you're a muskie guide. Talk to our listeners a bit. Why is muskie hunting or fishing such an addicting sport?
Well, you know, when you first start muskie fishing, you hear the term muskie fever, and you know, I think a lot of guys don't believe in it. But when you're out there, for so many anglers, the first time they bring that lure back to the boat, and there's that 4-foot fish coming in behind that lure, sometimes pushing water. We call that a wake. Your knees shake, and the average guy stops reeling and says, "Look at that," which is the wrong thing to do. But with experience, you learn, and I've been doing it for a long time, and it does get, it kind of takes over. So many guys have done it a time or two, and the next thing you know, they're spending thousands of dollars on rods, reels, lures. When I started out, a muskie lure was $7-8. Now they're about $25.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
So it can get expensive real quick. But yeah, it's kind of the type of deal where if a guy likes it and it's the style of fishing he likes, he's going to get hooked. And there's a lot of women doing it too. Women are actually some of my favorite clients because they come up with, well, exactly. But no, they don't. A lot of them don't have a lot of experience, and they listen very well, and typically they do better than guys.
Hey, we're talking to Chris Munchal, and Chris, I'll tell you what, this guy's background is phenomenal. How old are you, Chris? You're in the 30s, right? Am I guessing that?
I wish, early 40s now.
Okay, early 40s. Anyway, he's got a thing called Hatcam, I think it is called Hatcam Muskies video series, and I watched a little bit about that. He fishes Metro Muskies. He has Chris Munchal Productions. He's done videos for Mark's Prop Shop, Phantom Lures, Country View Marine, Mall of America, Northwest Airlines, Markham, Frankie's from Chicago. I'm up in that area all the time. Chisago, rather. Thank you very much. Or Chicago. There's a couple Frankies in Chicago.
Yeah, there are, as a matter of fact.
He's also involved with something called AquaView underwater cameras, and we're going to talk more about that as well. But I called him specifically for Little Falls Lake in Wisconsin. Now, you might have read about it. Of course, we steal 90% of our guests from Dave Orrick here. Little Falls Lake is a Wisconsin lake where nobody would talk about. All the fisher persons, they go there for largemouth bass, and it was a haven for largemouth bass. No motors on it. It's only canoes, kayaks, and a lot of those guys use those inner tube things, which I think would really be cool. It's been a haven for many, many, many years, but nobody would talk about it. But now Dave Orrick's talking about it because there's a dam at the south end of the lake, I believe, obviously, that is deteriorating, and is deteriorating so badly that their concern is going to collapse, and everybody south of this dam is going to flood out. It's going to cause major, major problems.
Yeah.
So what they're going to have to do now, and Chris has fished this lake many, many years. He's taken a lot of his clients there. I think he's guided a lot of his clients there.
Muskies, right?
No, this is bass.
Okay.
This is bass. But anyway, so they have to take the dam apart piece by piece and drain this entire lake. And they're never going to replenish it. They're never going to put it back.
No.
And this is a haven that's been around for many, many years. Tell us about Little Falls Lake, how you got involved, how you found out about it. Tell us about how productive it is, and tell us about your thoughts about the dam situation.
Sure. Yeah, I worked at Farm Brothers in my youth, and one of my fellow employees took me to Little Falls Lake for the first time bass fishing, and it was also the first time I ever fished out of a float tube. And for your listeners, float tubes are inner tubes designed for fishing. They've got some extra pockets and storage, and you use fins to move around the lake. For your fishing gear, and we've taken that to the next level. Yeah. We attach rods and all sorts of different things to them, and some electronics as well at times.
Anything in an aluminum can?
Yep. But no, you got to be pretty limited on what you can take out. And as we've progressed, the tube has gotten better, and the ones we've been using recently have some extra ability to take some more drink and stuff out with you.
Yeah, tow the cooler behind you. That's what you do.
Yeah, you can. You certainly can. But no, it's a really neat way to fish, and it kind of started two love affairs of mine, both for Little Falls Lake and for the float tube fishing. Because other than the fact that you're not very mobile, you can't get from one side of the lake to the other very quickly. It's an amazing fishing platform. You don't spook the fish at all. You could literally walk right up to them. I think they just think you're a large waterfall, to be honest with you, because it's so quiet. There's no banging. And yeah, the lake itself, just a phenomenal bass fishery. Each year it continues to produce well above average catches of good sized bass. And the way it started out, it wasn't that it was necessarily such a secret lake, but when you work at an outdoor shop, you kind of don't talk as much about your spots, and we just kind of kept the rule that you can take people there, but don't necessarily talk about it openly. Right. And the funny thing is, because it's no motors, most guys won't even go there, which is kind of the inside joke.
Yeah. Chris Munchell, let me interrupt you right there because I want to pick up on this story. We got a break right now. And also thank Dave Orrick. I didn't see this article. Was it a recent one?
Yeah, Sunday. It's an amazing story.
Okay. I'm usually a little behind on his articles. TwinCities.com, St. Paul Pioneer Press outdoor editor, Dave Orrick. And I always, even after we have someone on as a guest, still like to go back and read those stories because he's such a good writer and goes a little more in depth. Chris, let's come back and talk about Little Falls and the demise and your take on that when we come back with Ticket Outdoors.
Gio and Jones getting you to work every weekday morning until 8. This is Greg Giannotti. You're listening to Sports Radio 105 The Ticket.
From pro to college to high school, we've got it all covered.
I would trade them. The career arc intersecting with one's prime, blah, blah, blahs. The rest of the roster ready to win when your star player is still in that window.
Passionate sports talk on your sports station. 105 The Ticket.
Well, Minnesota fishing season is officially here, and it's time to hit your favorite lakes and fishing spots. Boomer here with the Ticket Outdoors, and I want to thank Alumacraft for being our official boat sponsor. I just got off the water with my Alumacraft T-Pro, and boy, do I love the space, storage, and sweet ride on the water. I love Alumacraft because they're made right here in Minnesota, and they're simply the best aluminum boat on the market. For more about Alumacraft, visit your local dealer or go to alumacraft.com.
There are reasons they're called the silent sports. No engines, no fumes, no wakes. Just the sound of a paddle blade knifing through the water. And maybe the occasional call of a loon who's willing to share a lake. Glide across your favorite water this summer with a canoe, kayak, or stand-up paddleboard. Mills Fleet Farm has them all. This year, really get on the water with Mills Fleet Farm.
Now back to Ticket Outdoors, only on Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
All right, welcome back. Don't forget, we rerun this Sunday mornings at 6 o'clock. If you didn't catch the whole thing or you want to catch the podcast, 105theticket.com. I'm Zepp. We've got the wild cards. True, Boomer in studio tonight. And, well, you're in studio a lot now. It's not as shocking as it once was to have you in studio. And our producer, Mark Lukey. Chris Munchow, our Strew mystery guest tonight. Muskie Guide. We're talking about Little Fall. Is it Little Fall Lake?
Little Falls Lake in Hudson, Wisconsin. It's a part of the Willow River, I think, whatever tributary there. But tell us more about Little Falls Lake. It was such a productive lake. Tell us about how many bass you can catch, what size they are, what's happening with the dam, and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I literally caught a bass on the first cast I ever made on the lake, and I was hooked. It was about a 3-pound bass, and it wasn't even a real cast. Back in the early 90s, if you guys remember, we didn't have the braid, the real super braids we have now. We used a lot of heavy, I used a lot of Maxima fishing line, which was real heavy and coily, but we were flipping timber and stuff. And I just made a little half cast to make sure I didn't have a backlash, and before I could even bring the jig in, a bass ate it. So I was hooked from right there. And the lake itself, excellent shoreline fishing. We typically start on opening day of Wisconsin, which is the first weekend in May, and right off the bat, where the fish are typically pre-spawn staging, And then as the month progresses, they move up and get ready for the spawn. And if you hit it right, we've had 3 guys have caught over 100 fish total with an average of about 17 and a half inches.
Isn't that something?
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. And plenty of nice 20, 21-inch fish. Usually someone will get a 22-inch fish. A couple of guys that have been fishing it even longer than I have some 7-pounders in there. And I came real close to that goal a few years ago. I've wanted to catch a 7 so bad over there, and I got a 6'10", which was so close. But, it's just lots and lots of 2.5 to 4 pound
Is
fish.
It Chris Munchow, our guest here tonight on Ticket Outdoors? He's a muskie guide. We're talking about Little Falls and the demise of this wonderful non-motorized lake just outside of Hudson. Is there pretty accessible shore fishing?
Yeah, there's a ton of shore fishing. Being it's in a state park, about half the lake is accessible to shoreline fishing. It's a real good panfish lake. We never do it over there, but plenty of people do, and they catch good numbers of large crappies. There used to be some pretty good sized northern pike that would oftentimes break you off, and some smallmouth bass occasionally. So it's a pretty well-rounded fishery. And
I might drive over there in the morning.
Yeah, it's going to be going around here all summer, so now we can sneak over there and give it a shot, right?
Well, and I tell you what, it must be one heck of a fishery, guys, because my phone's just texting off the hook right now.
I heard Bill Levansky chimed in. So when are they going to start draining this thing? Because now that the word's out, I mean, both of our listeners are going to go over there. This thing's going to be hard to get on the lake.
They were supposed to start draining it on June 1st, and what happened was some of the homeowners down south, the lake flows into the Willow River. The Willow River flows into the top, and then it flows back out. And the lower section was an excellent trout fishery. It's diminished a little bit in the past few years, but they did a lot of improvements throughout the 90s and made that an excellent trout fishing destination. That we used to do both. We'd go over there and we'd trout fish in the morning, then bass fish, and jump back and forth, and it was just great fishing. And then it's going to flow down into Lake Malilu, and a lot of the homeowners south there are got an injunction on the drainage because they're worried about silt and just the general amount of stuff that's going to flush down. And a lot of us don't think the fish are going to survive. It's just an awful lot of fish to get dumped into that smaller river stretch, and that's the biggest thing. Everybody can understand that a dam may need to be replaced. We'd like to think that there's a course of action that could go in there where they draw the water down but try to maintain the fishery to a certain extent.
Apparently you guys aren't paying enough taxes over there in Wisconsin.
Well, Chris, hey, Boomer, I'm getting some text here, and one from Bill in Wisconsin about, I guess, there's also a lake above it on Willow that's going to be drained as well, so it's not only Little Falls that's going to be impacted, but I'm also hearing that the Willow Park is one of the top 5 parks in the state. So do you think with this draining of this major fishery, it's going to impact the amount of attendance of people that go to Willow Park?
Absolutely. Yeah, the lake is the focal point of that park. The 2 big attractions are the falls themselves and then the lake. There's a beach on the lake. The amount of kayaking and canoeing and rowboats, I can't imagine that park without that lake. And it's gotta not only affect the recreational, people using the park, but also the park staff as well. As you said, it's always in the top 5 annually most visited parks in the state of Wisconsin.
Maybe they need a new tubing river over there.
Yeah, they could do that. But, it's not going to be the same without that lake there. And I know the people that are involved in the park are desperately hoping that they'll find the means to put a new dam in place and rebuild the lake.
Now, that's not something you can have a bake-off for. And
at the church,
Yeah, right. Yeah. That takes some serious dough.
Well, guys, I remember, a couple years ago, this was a big point of discussion here in Minnesota because there's Pelican Lake up in St. Michael, Minnesota, which is a major attraction of fishery. A lot of people love to ice fish it. It was a really good panfish fishery. If you wanted to get some northern pike, you could get it. And that was drained down because they wanted to, help the wetlands. And, there's still some water there and still some fish. Chris, what kind of recourse is being done in that area by folks to try to rebuild this dam? I understand a bake-off's not going to do it, but is there any point of reversing this?
They got the injunction, but are they doing anything legislatively that might reverse this or pull some funds?
You know, everything we've heard, a lot of that would have to happen at the state level in the Madison area. And I've been going over there this year early on. We took the family over there, did some hiking right after the ice came off. And everybody I've talked to has just been devastated that lake is going to go away. There were guys actually taking pictures of the lake to show their grandkids what used to be there. So I don't know what they could do short of, I would like to think there's something. And I think we could all accept the fact that the lake is going to be gone for a few years, but we'd sure like to see it come back, because a lake like that, even if you restocked it, I think there's something going on with the biology of that lake to continually put out, the amount of large fish that we seem to get every year.
Right, you're going to kill off that food supply, so just filling it back up in a few years and restocking it doesn't create that. Yeah.
How many acres are we talking about?
I think it's I think it's a little under 200 acres, if I remember correctly.
Small, but yeah, I mean it's a great.
Well, it just sounds like Mayberry. It sounds like Nirvana, where there's no power boats.
Fishing hole.
Is there a public access on this?
Yep, there is a normal type access. So a lot of guys will come in with trailers and rowboats, and a ton of canoeing and kayaking.
Okay, so when you're in there with let's say you with your float tube or even a canoe or something, you've got your electronics. What kind of bottom have you got down there? What's making this lake so special?
There's a lot of it's sand and muck, but there's a fair amount of rock, and that's really the difference. When we've been fishing it for so many years, some of the guys over 30 years, and the shoreline fishing itself is always really good. You can go out there and pitch jigs to the shoreline. You can throw spinner baits. It's a great topwater lake for bass. But the guys that know the rocks and some of the deeper breaks where the fish can school up, that's where you're getting your big numbers.
Deep?
That's where a lot of it, I'd say the majority of the lake is probably less than 15 feet. There's some deeper stuff as you get down to the dam, but it's a lot of it's shallower, and it's actually silted in considerably from the early years we started fishing. And a lot of
it's just running through it, so it's going to silt up.
Right.
Hey, so Chris, you are a professional guide, and you guide muskies more than anything else. But I'm sure you've taken a lot of pictures of the bass you caught on Little Falls Lake in Hudson, Wisconsin, and brought them back to your buddies, and had the pressure put on you to say, okay, where did you catch those? Did you actually say, screw you guys, you got to find out by yourselves?
We took a lot of people over there, a lot of our close friends. There have been some touring bass anglers that have been to the lake, and some of them have gotten hooked on it, and some of them haven't. And it's not necessarily the fishing; it's just that style of fishing.
Boomer just got done taking with a Lumacraft, going up north and doing a big photo show with a Lumacraft. Boomer's a big shot. This sounds like the perfect lake to do some kind of video shot for some kind of promo.
I think he should chain himself to the dam.
Yeah.
Knowing our luck, we'll bring the Ticket Outdoors crew, and Chris, don't go with because a major cold front will hit. It'll start snowing in July.
It'll kill off the lake.
One more short story. We've got time for one more. Not me, but Chris.
You bet we do.
Oh, yeah. No, you don't. Hey,
Yeah,
Chris. Chris, tell us about the time that you talked about the 3 kids who capsized.
Yeah, it was opening day.
No. They lived. Keep going.
They, as far as I know, they lived. It was cold. It was opening day, and I was fishing by myself. I'm guessing the water was probably around 50 degrees, and they were doing a lot of horsing around. And I kind of made a mental note. I said, these kids, they're gonna dump that thing. And sure enough, they dumped it. And the only way to get another boat out to them, if a parent was watching, they would have had to go to the park office. They would have had to get a rowboat or a canoe. And we're talking 20 minutes, probably at least, to get out to rescue these kids. So right away, I paddled out to them. And
what were you in?
I was in my float tube.
There you go.
And the kids were cold and scared, but if I remember correctly, the canoe was right side up and it was full of water. So I told each one of them to grab on the canoe, and I would tow them in, and I let them know that if they were having trouble, to let me know so I could physically grab them in case they got so cold they couldn't hold on. And they did a great job. They were cold and scared, but we got them to shore. And and the great part of the story is everybody made it to shore with safe and sound. The sad part of the story was who the guy I assume was the dad. He came down. He never thanked me once. He yelled at the kids for losing all the fishing gear. And, It was kind of a sad ending, but I was glad.
I can see maybe growling the kids a little bit for the fishing gear after you're thankful that everybody's alive and you give Chris Munchow a big hug.
Well, I don't think he really understood the situation and how cold that water was.
Hey, probably not. Hey, Chris, how do folks get a hold of you if they want to Now, when we started this, if you're just jumping in with us, Chris does a lot of beginning muskie guiding. So I think we've all been out on a guide trip and done something for the first time. I remember being on a quail hunt down in Georgia and just had not hunted that topography before, and the guy just made us all feel like jackasses from the Midwest down there hunting. Like, you don't know this red dirt. Those are woe wheat. What's a woe wheat? Nothing will drive me crazier. But if you're just looking to get it, of course, Chris will take out experienced muskie hunters as well. But if you're just looking to get started, and he says, and I know a lot more gals are getting into it, how do they get a hold of you, Chris?
They can go to my website. It's chrismunchow.com, and that's got a little bit of information about the trip and my rates, that type of thing. And yeah, I encourage people. Like I said, a lot of my clients are they just want to experience muskie fishing, and I like taking people like that out.
You're a very personable guy, pretty laid back, and I think people getting started for the first time would do well with you. Munchow, chrismunchow.com. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me on tonight, guys. A lot of fun.
Thanks for hunting, man.
We'll do it again, sir.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
You bet.
Lake Report time, kids.
Make sure you tune in me, Brandon Tierney, along with my partner, Ziggy Barber, weekday mornings at 8. Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
Do you live for hunting and fishing? Tune in to Ticket Outdoors with Brian Zepp.
I was talking to my buddy Scott Merwin, who runs Lake Osakis Guide Business, and I was actually with Scott and his wife Kristen, who runs a large women's fishing organization. She's actually the president.
For large women?
Yeah, all fat ladies. They have to fish on pontoons.
Mm-hmm.
Ticket Outdoors, presented by Dan Southside Marine. 2 hours every Wednesday at 7 on 105 The Ticket.
Father's Day, your dad, Fleet Farm, and new tools. Save $100 on a 20-volt DeWalt drill and saw combo kit. Or get Dad a gear wrench ratcheting wrench set, $19.89. Keep bugs away with a Thermacell mosquito repellent kit, $12.99 after rebate. A 45-pound thrust Endura trolling motor, $179.99. And Dad can show his true colors in NFL or NCAA polos, just $24.99.
Hi, it's Tom with Dan Chesky from Dan's Southside Marine, introducing Dan's Big Damn Boat Sale. The damn thing takes place now, goes through Father's Day, which should take away all of your excuses for not showing up. The perfect time for Dan's Damn Boat Sale at Dan's Southside Marine.
Get great savings on Premier, Alumacraft, and Berkshire boats coming right out of my pocket. Any damn boat you see on the website's for sale, so shop online for any damn boat you want, or come down to the store at 98th and Logan in Bloomington and see him in person. Pretty damn easy, huh?
It's Dan Chesky's Big Damn Boat Sale going on now at Dan's Southside Marine, 35W and 98th Street in Bloomington.
Our dealer incentives and factory rebates will save you a lot, and I will pitch in a few goodies too. So visit our damn website and check out the damn savings.
Everybody's talking about it. Dan's Big Damn Boat Sale going on now through Father's Day at Dan's Southside Marine, 35W and 98th Street in Bloomington, or you can shop online at dansouthsidemarine.com.
This is your 105 The Ticket weather from Nature's Fury. It's going to be a nice night. Low of 63, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow's going to be a shock after the last couple days. High of 68, showers almost all day, rainfall near half an inch. Tomorrow night, low of 58. The rain should disappear before Friday with a high of 78. Saturday and Sunday looking great as well. High of 77 on Saturday, maybe 80 on Sunday, but about a 50-50 chance of rain. This weather update is brought to you by Nature's Fury. You can find Nature's Fury at your local Cub Foods and select holiday stores.
Now back to Ticket Outdoors, only on Sports Radio 105, The Ticket.
I know, a little winded. That's
God, you peed again.
I did. Well, you're right. That's twice in one show.
Yeah.
For me, that's not quite like me. Must be this iced tea I'm drinking going right through me.
Hey, we got to have Chris Munchow back on because there's so much in his life more than just what he talked about Little Falls Lake. But I tell you what, Zeph, let's sneak over there before they drain this lake. It's
no doubt in my mind I'm headed over there.
Hudson, Wisconsin. It's drains into the Willow River, Little Falls Lake. And read Dave Orich's article. It's a great story.
I'll end up reading it tonight. I always read all of Dave's articles. I love them. And he's been a great asset to
but
us. He's kind of like our producer, really, more than Mark is.
But Dave's one of those assholes who didn't tell anybody about this lake. Now he said they're going to drain the lake. Now I can tell everybody about it. He said, well, thank you, Mr. Oric.
Oh, no, I'll definitely get over and check it out. I'm surprised, as much as I like to go around and hit little fish in spots, and those are the ones I kind of look for because nobody gave me an Alumacraft T-Pro 195. So
or a Sea Sprite.
Well, I do. Right, exactly. I like to fish for, there you are. There's your mic, Mark.
Hey, everybody.
I do like to fish for the bass, and I like to get in around structure.
Yes.
And you can do that very easily from the shore, and I have no problem putting on a little jig and grabbing some panties, because I love to eat them.
You love panties. Panties, I know that.
No, I did enunciate that. Unlike him saying pictures, I didn't say panties. But I love those too.
We are digressing. But you know what? Speaking of structures up, this is the time of year when you're chasing walleyes. It's really important to look for some of that structure that's probably off of the first and secondary breaks of shoreline. I know when you start the season here in Minnesota, and ice was out about a month earlier than it was last year. Right. So some of those people that, always pound the shorelines for walleyes, depending on where opener was and where it was in the state, they were catching them on the first breaks. But, we were catching some walleyes in some of those humps that were in the middle of the water. So again, if, typically this time of year, depending on the temps, you can still get away with being pretty close to the shorelines.
No, we only had one day. We hit the 92 yesterday afternoon. Yep. First time since September 6th of 2013. We've hit the 90s here in Minnesota, and just 80s today. I think we just touched 80. Yep. It's going to cool off again. So this question doesn't carry a lot of weight, but if it gets real hot early in the summer like this in June, we're talking about, how August when you sort of hit that wall?
Yep.
You worry about that with the early ice out and warm temperatures in June?
You know what? It's really just going to change the way that you're going to approach the fishing. There's still going to be fish in that lake, but especially when you're chasing those walleyes, you're going to look for some of those deeper pockets where it's going to be some cooler water, where they're going to be a little more comfortable. And again, depending on the water clarity, it's going to depend on how deep they're at as well, because walleyes really do have those sensitive eyes. They're such amazing predators on the bottom of the lake. In that sense, they get the name walleyes. But when it gets warm like this and it gets sunny, you're going to be looking for some of those deeper pockets. When we were up on Bowstring doing a little fishing, there's a lot of luck going on towards the middle part of that lake on the north side. There's some flats and there's some humps up there where folks were rigging with a leech. They were rigging with a jig and a minnow. And if you were on the wind-blown side, so the wind's blowing into it, on some of those humps, you're not necessarily catching those walleyes right on the top of the humps, but you're catching it on the transition into those humps as it's going up, because what's happening is, as the wind is blowing and those minnows and the forage base and their food base is going into those humps, that's where they're kind of getting trapped, and those minnows kind of get confused, and those predator fish like walleyes get pretty smart, and that's where we're picking up on bowstring. So for our listeners out there who are looking for a lake in northern Minnesota that's got a pretty hot walleye bite, go to Bowstring. They got those humps, up there at Geiger's Trails End on the north end. Yep. Play the wind-blown side of those humps, and you can get into some of those fish. Now, when I went out to Federal Dam is where we first did the shoot, there was a pretty decent bite going out there. And first, anytime you go out there fishing and you see holding these fish that I have that you go in different media outlets or whatnot, there's one heck of a support system behind it, right? Because I'm not up there all the time, and you got to thank the folks that are out there all the time. And I want to give credit to a couple folks. One is SKS Guide Service. We've had Scott Seibert and Shelley Holland on here before. Yep. I'm going to invite Scott to come back on for a lake report to really help us understand leech, because leech, guys, has been one of the hottest walleye bites in the state right now.
Bring Shelley too, will you?
Yeah, we'll bring Shelley.
She's my new Facebook buddy.
Yes, but Scott was giving us some tips about some certain areas, and really what we were doing is we were running some cranks on some of the weed lines.
Oh, cool.
So as you're up on leech, look for some of those sunken weed lines, and you could have some luck. And then Bros Guide Service. I did happen to have a conversation with Brian Brosdale, and he was very helpful. And Bro was telling me to focus on some of those deeper pockets that were closer to the shoreline as well. So as those deeper pockets on the wind-blown side, Bro was saying, pitch into them with maybe running spinners with worms. If you could troll over it, and you might have some luck on leech. But right now, for our listeners, Leech Lake is a really hot bite. But I want to kind of change focus from the walleyes. We talked about the humps or the structure in the middle of the lake as these temperatures start to warm up, or running cranks on the weed lines this time of year, about taking some kids out fishing. In all seriousness, I got to take Sophie and some of her friends and some Girl Scouts out in the Alumacraft T-Pro, and it was all about, at least what I found with kids, it's not about catching the big fish, it's about quantity, right?
Yes.
You gotta keep them dialed in. With my ADHD, and I'm all over the place, and Soph and kids these days, there's so much going on that it's all about the consistency of the bite. So we went and chased some panfish. That's definitely something I would recommend if you're going to take a kid out for the first time. And that's what we did. We snuck down to Waconia, and we were looking for some of those sunfish that are going to be on beds right now, because this is that time of year, and some of those crappies. And you can always tell when those panfish are in spawn mode, which means they got their mojo going on. The females are laying eggs, and the males are going to go there and protect those eggs and do their deal. They're going to be darker in color. So if you catch some crappies right away and they're that darker in color, or those panfish, you've got a spawn bite going on, and that's where you want to see them.
Now, when you approach, Waconia is a fairly sizable lake. When you go out to a lake like that and you're with the youngins and you're just looking for some action, does it matter where you start? Because sometimes I just go out and I go, well, this looks like a good little spot. Let's start here.
What I do is I try to look at the map beforehand, and I'm looking for where the wind is blowing into, right? And I'm also looking for weed lines and some shallower water, or what we like to call pencil reeds. We joke about cabbage or whatnot, but some of those weeds that are coming through. And we went out to the island where we had seen some really good vegetation, some good weed lines, and that's the first place that I took those girls. And a lot of it as well has to do with the setup, because they're not as familiar, boys or girls, with how to catch these fish, and they want to do everything, And so what I really wanted to show them was not only how to cast, but how to set the hook. And so there's 3 different types of reels in the fishing world that we use, besides the fly fisherman. One is called the spin cast reel, or otherwise known as the closed face. That's the old Zepco that we grew up, right? And then you got an open face, which we know, you flip the bail and cast it, and then a bait caster. What I recommend is when you're getting kids out on the water, get one of those closed face Zepcos, okay? I have no affiliation with them, but it's an easier way for a kid to learn to cast, and that's what I had Sophie started with. They just push in the button, and then they release it when it gets over their head, and they feel like they're more involved. So that's half the battle, right? They don't feel like you're doing it for them. Yeah. And then you find those shallow waters, and we've talked about this before. You can go down to Fleet Farm and buy some plastic crappie jigs or some little foo-foo jigs. You're looking for something that's less than like a 32nd of an ounce. And then set that up. Colors, you can get away with multiple colors.
Whatever the girls want.
You betcha.
Pinks and the greens.
You betcha. And then the other thing we did to keep them involved, besides picking their jig and their little plastic that they want to put on it, is I bought a variety colors of bobbers, and I bought them at Fleet Farm. They weren't that expensive. I probably bought 25 to 30 bobbers that were less than $10. And so then when the girls were on the boat, not only did they get to pick what kind of jig and plastic they wanted to use, but hey, what kind of bobber, right? Because you're getting them involved.
And they know
early.
which bobber is theirs, and everybody has their own bobber.
And everyone's happy. And so some of the girls picked pink, some of them picked red. And the thing that you do is you put that bobber on, and you put about maybe 2 to 3 feet of space. You have them cast it out into the shallows, and then I like to put a little live bait on there. I put a waxworm on there just to entice those crappies and sunfish a little more. And boy, that you let them cast it out, the bobber's going to keep that jig with the waxworm and the plastic at about the right height in the water column, and the bobber will just sink. And you know what? They're so aggressive if you find them on those beds that they really don't have to worry about the hook sets, and they can just reel them in. And one little last tip for our listeners, if you got multiple kids on the boat, what I like to do is when you're hitting those shallow waters or pencil reeds for those bedding panfish right now, start them off at different lengths in the water column. So I had one girl set up at about 1 foot, one girl set up at about 1.5 feet, one at 3. And then what I did is the girl that was catching the most fish, I adjusted the other bobber lengths on the other girls, and guess what? They all got to participate in fun. We added some more girls and boys to the sport, and they're going to have smiles and memories that are going to last forever.
That's why we have him here, Zep.
That's a wrap. Sunday morning. Listen to it again, 6 to 8. The podcast on 105theticket.com. Producer Mark Lukey, the wild card boomer. And this is Zep. We'll catch you next Wednesday right here on this frequency at 7 o'clock for Ticket Outdoors.
For Father's Day, get Dad gifts from his favorite store, Fleet Farm. Dad will feel like a king on the Cloud 9 hanging lounge chair, $158.88. The Berkeley Deluxe Electric Filet Knife Kit is $39.99. A DeWalt 20-volt drill driver kit is $99. Dad can do some serious cooking on a Traeger Little Tex Elite Grill, $599.99. And can't decide? Fleet Farm gift cards make great gifts.